Chapter 81, Immortal Artisan, Mechanism Master, Bull Demon, welcome to my home field. There was silence for almost 3 seconds. Behind Bull Demon, the ground's accumulated water and the suspended raindrops in the air exploded into white waves, as if two streams of extremely fierce blood and chi were colliding at high speed, bursting with scalding heat. Hiss! Time seemed to stretch infinitely at this moment. Old Deng of the Yang family, a divine base realm cultivator, a monstrous being as vast as a meat mountain, at this moment, even his previously frenzied will showed signs of regaining clarity. Why? He wasn't divine base, yet he could withstand his punch? However, very quickly, the heart-shocking and sturdy divinity, in the midst of rampage, grew tendrils from the divine disc hovering behind him, and fiercely stabbed into Meat Mountain Yang Jing's body. Bull Demon! What a shocking surprise! Die! The shrill screams of shock and dismay instantly created a terribly extreme sonic shockwave. Li Che only felt like his eardrums were about to rupture. But beneath his mask, his expression was neither joyful nor sad, without any emotional fluctuations. Mysterious vein. This Yang family's old Deng, his martial cultivation, is merely at the mysterious vein rank. Thump. A dull thud. Atop Yang Jing's Meat Mountain, countless semi-transparent divinities, like the soft tentacles of an octopus, entwined around that fleshly body. His punch became even heavier. Li Che boom resounded like a suddenly inflated balloon, his originally imposing figure suddenly grew even larger. Dragon Elephant Vajra's second transformation. The blood and chi power spreading through his muscles and bones made his inner chi suddenly grow more robust, horizontally refining his body towards perfection. His abdomen, chest, and shoulder blades rose high, his skin turning blood red, muscles and bones vibrated, rolling and wriggling like earth dragons. His arms thickened, muscles twisted like dough, and the muscles on his back stacked up as if growing a pair of wings. It was like a winged python. Mysterious vein. You are. So am I. Bull Demon roared with fury, his terrifying inner chi gushed out wildly, forming a powerful force that could shake mountains, shaking the air and creating ripple-like shockwaves, exploding countless raindrops and light snow. Boom! The Meat Mountain was blown away, nimbly rolling and landing on the ground. Li Che, whose body had grown even larger, only felt an unprecedented exhilaration, his hands, large as a fan, suddenly clenched into fists. Dragon Elephant Vajra Deo fruit could increase its maturity through battle. The more spirited and strenuous the fight, the more it increased. Stay connected with. At this moment, Li Che felt in a state like never before. He could even sense the peculiar feeling of soaring maturity. The blown-away Yang Jing did not show shock. At this point, he had lost all consciousness, leaving only one thought, to torment Bull Demon to death, and from Bull Demon's mouth. Hear the terrifying screams of facing death. Li Che stared intensely at the formidable Meat Mountain. Feeling the rank oppression brought by that divine base divinity, the three types of divinity in the Mud Pill energy center seemed frozen like a river in the harshest winter, unable to flow even slightly. Is this rank suppression? Li Che murmured softly. Divine base, an absolute suppression in terms of cultivation rank. Feeling the majestic divinity of that divine base hovering behind the opponent, at least 10 times more than cultivation as river-like divinity. Quantity is 10 times larger, and the quality is even higher. It's truly another level. However, Li Che sensed just a bit and discovered that the divinity of pure heart felt nothing. Besides, the divinity of Chess Saint within Deo fruit of three-eyed wrathful true Lord Spirit Child Temple God was also unaffected. Looks like, there's a catch. Meat Mountain Yang Jing seemed to have also noticed that this Bull Demon, on the martial path, was actually at the same level as him, a divine base cultivator. But that was all. His scarlet eyes suddenly dilated, his 5 fingers clenched, and the invisible divinity roared to life, condensing the rain and snow falling from the sky into a crescent-shaped blade. Spinning rapidly, he wielded it ferociously and slashed towards Bull Demon. The imposing figure of Bull Demon sprang into action, his feet tapping continuously, twisting and turning ambiguously, dodging left and right. The ancient stones of the long street instantly exploded, and the shattered stones burst and scattered like bullets. Li Che's eyes were stern, his heart slightly chilling. Long-range attacks integrated with divine base divinity. Very powerful indeed, even surpassing the strength of his Namo Gatling wooden crow single shot. Li Che's feet suddenly accelerated, pushing hard, and the rainwater splashed forward like an upturned mushroom canopy. And he himself, rapidly retracting backwards. Want to escape? Bull demon! Yang Jing, with his silver hair flying, roared furiously. His bulging, mountainous body unexpectedly pursued with remarkable agility. His thick legs, as sturdy as elephant pillars, rapidly tapped the ground, causing ripples like skipping stones. His chubby arms suddenly spread wide. Cloud Harrier treading on clouds. The divine martial arts of the Yang family. Li Che glanced back and spread his arms, imitating the Cloud Harrier treading on clouds with form and essence. Endowed with the dragon elephant Vajradeo fruit, Li Che's martial comprehension was extremely high. Divine martial arts is still martial arts. He had already managed to execute it. Although he couldn't harness the divinity, he had entered the threshold of pure martial arts. Ah! Bull Demon! Seeing Bull Demon execute his family's divine martial arts, Yang Jing felt a pain in his heart as if his most precious possession had been desecrated. The thought of the slain Yang family experts made him even more frenzied and furious. And this was exactly what Li Che wanted. Would he face a divine base cultivator unprepared and reckless? Li Che, who had been dashing forward relentlessly, suddenly flashed a glint in his eyes beneath his mask. He stomped the ground hard for a sudden halt, bent his body, and slapped one arm onto the ground. In an instant, he drifted sideways like a tail slide, shooting into the pitch-black alley beside the main street. Yang Jing, trapped in his crazed wool, paid no heed to this. He followed suit and crashed into the alley as well. The moment he entered the alley, Yang Jing's frenzy didn't subside, and he unleashed the terrifying divine base divinity's majesty. The bull demon stood at the end of the alley, feeling the divine base cultivator's rank oppression like a storm, his eyes emotionless beneath the cute bull mask. He raised his arms abruptly, fingers spread, as if playing a silent tune. They danced in succession, and the next instant, his fingers turned into hooks and he gave a fierce tug. In that instant, the entire alley erupted with countless fine silver threads, which vibrated at high speed and burst into a mist like exploded droplets of water. Like a spider web set for hunting. Sharp as knives. Thousand spider threads. The tensioned and slicing web of thousand spider threads invaded the flesh of Meat Mountain Yang Jing. Creak, creak. A grating sound of metal cutting was emitted. At the same time, Li Che's sword fingers came together, sweeping through the void. One after another, the poisoned mechanisms Guanyin Blood Lotus were released and exploded in midair by his flicking fingers, showering dense, toxic hair-thin needles down on Meat Mountain. Having set the traps, flung the poisoned darts, and thrown the hidden weapons, the bull demon grabbed from the Kyunkan space the Namo Gatling wooden crow, which then materialized 6,000 wooden ravens at once, all hovering in the air. Aiming at Yang family's divine foundation Old Deng. When it comes to mechanisms, the bull demon was a professional. Immortal artisan mechanism master. Welcome, to my home turf. Rainwater mixed with cold snowflakes fluttered down. The commotion of the street fell into silence. White waves crashed against pairs of black boots, splintering apart. What a bull demon, so strong and unmatched in horizontal refinement, having reached the mysterious vein level of channel opening. It is commonly said that divinity is easy to nurture, but blood energy is difficult to refine. Yet this person managed to penetrate the mysterious vein in such a short time. Truly deserving of being called a martial prodigy. Cao Qing Yuan, with the side knife at his waist, watched Bull Demon engaged in fierce combat with Yang family's Old Deng, Yang Jing. Even though Yang Jing had fallen into a state of frenzy controlled by his divine base cultivation was undeniably real. As was the suppression of his rank. The Bull Demon hadn't been instantly defeated and was still fighting back. But he won't be able to resist for long. Divine base kills nurturing nature, even if martial cultivation is at the same mysterious vein level, it is only a matter of a few more moves. Behind Cao Qing Yuan followed the last remaining divine catcher Zhang Xiang Yang. At this moment, Zhang Xiang Yang wore a hat, his head lowered, his complexion shifting, his heart racing. This bull demon, too terrifying. Fortunately, he never turned back and joined forces with Zhou Ruiguan to counterkill, otherwise, he would now be a chilled corpse. Young city lord, what should we do now? Cao Qing Yuan smiled but did not look at the bull demon and Yang Jing who had gone off to fight to the death. We, go to Li Che's residence. Li Che being the bull demon, is, after all, just my conjecture. 3 years, oh, in 3 years, from a mud-legged peasant to a fearsome and wicked devil like the bull demon. I can hardly believe it. Cao Qingyuan shook his head. If it were true, how would he balance his feelings? He'd probably go mad with jealousy. Right now the bull demon is engaged in combat with a divine base cultivator, bound to be unable to escape, and might even be killed. Therefore, going to the Li residence, we can use the pretext of having once asked Li Che to carve a wood carving, to check whether Li Che is present. If he's not there, when the mystery is no longer a mystery. Cao Qingyuan paused, and in the next moment, he couldn't help but laugh frantically. I am about to see the truth. Chapter 82. Yesterday afternoon, I got the notification from the editor that the book could be launched, and we've decided to launch it tomorrow at noon. The launch will take place promptly at noon tomorrow. I want to thank my editor Yexiao, who has stuck with me for 8 years. I'm grateful for his persistence with so many of my attempts that haven't panned out, and for his invaluable suggestions for each book. Old Li was supposed to launch the book at midnight tonight, but since there were no drafts saved, the launch had to be postponed until tomorrow. He'll be up tonight writing into the wee hours, fortunately. Since having a child, Old Li has always been up all night writing. I have to say, after several unsuccessful attempts, it's finally time to launch another book, which, with everyone's hard work, even made it up the rankings. Though we lost 1 PK, it was already an extraordinary achievement. Old Li bows deeply to you all. I have mentioned before that, after so many failures, Old Li planned this fantasy novel to be his last, a sort of retirement from this martial world. Truth be told, initially, the performance was very poor. On the first day it was recommended, it gained fewer than 200 collections, and the conversion rate was only 19 per thousand, while the average for recommended books is 35 per thousand. But it was still better than the previous books, which barely got a few dozen collections per day when recommended, so I persisted and slowly it began to improve. With Old Li's promotion, it was eventually featured in the rankings. Although the effect was mediocre, it was nevertheless an honor. Regarding the strong push at the end of the new book period, the editor said to keep up with the reading. There were great hopes, so they decided to go ahead with the launch. Having written books for so many years, launching them isn't new to me, but I am still very nervous this time. After all, it's a time to see the actual results of the new book period, to see how many initial subscriptions there will be. The new book had reached 210,000 words before the launch, which is quite lengthy for Old Li. With back-end fake readers at 3,800 and real readers, according to the editor, at 2,400, whether the initial subscriptions can reach 2,000 is anyone's guess. These days, the market is so challenging and enigmatic, hard to understand, completely baffling. Therefore, I can only hope that everyone will give Old Li a wave of initial subscriptions during the launch to give us a chance to eye the post-launch recommendations. Nowadays, recommendations post-launch are also competitive, judged on subscription data, no longer just the author's reputation. Writing at this platform has indeed been difficult lately. Over the last 6 months, it felt like being unemployed. Old Li can only rely on this book to earn some formula money for his 3-year-old toddler. Of course, I no longer have grand ambitions for this book, I only want to finish it well. After all, it is meant to be Old Li's last fantasy novel. The target is 3 million words. Finishing the book is a victory in itself. As for the updates after the launch, it's simple, 10,000 words a day. If you all want more, then it depends on the monthly tickets. For every additional 500 monthly tickets, we'll add an update, plain and simple. In the past, Old Li was like an octopus, with a record month of over 500,000 words, so, everyone can rest assured and follow along eagerly. This book, Old Li's goal is just to finish it, completely and thoroughly. A decade of reign at night in the martial world, from the gourmet of 16 to now in 24, it's been 8 years, not far from a decade. I don't know how much longer I can write, but as long as I'm writing, I will continue to strive. I won't say too much. The launch is at noon tomorrow, just hoping for everyone's support with the initial subscriptions, to support Old Li, to allow Old Li a glimpse of the post-launch recommendations. Old Li can only offer more updates as a way to thank everyone. No more idle chat, I must get back to writing. Tonight, I'll pull an all-nighter, and tomorrow, we push. Finally, I beg for your subscriptions. Old Li bows to everyone. Thump 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 thump. Begging for subscriptions, for monthly tickets, for recommendation tickets. Begging for your fervent following. See you tomorrow. Be sure to come. Chapter 83, The Bull Demon of Two Divinities, Bodhi Blood Tears. Winter thunder boomed, mixed with icy snowflakes in the rain. Su family compound. Under the high wall with black tiles, within the courtyard, an old man in black robes sat upright on a high taishi chair, his face slightly pale. Below him, Su Heli, Su Baihu, and the family head Su Nanming sat quietly. The core members of the Su family were nearly all present. Yang Jing was injured by that suspected divine sex expert and then experienced the shock of his family's extermination. His heart-shocking and sturdy divine foundation was unstable, leading his emotions, driving him into madness. When the young city lord was chatting with Yang Jing, I was also there. The young city lord speculated that the bull demon, who is causing chaos in Feilei City, could very likely be Li Che. The old master Su spoke with a touch of laziness, interspersed with a light cough. Su Heli and Su Baihu had already guessed it, so their expressions didn't change much, but Su Nanming was utterly astonished. Li Che. He's really the bull demon. Su Nanming was somewhat disbelieving, especially since he still had Li Che's information on his desk. A squeaky clean native of Feilei City, an orphan from a young age, raised by his uncle, who seized the opportunity in his teens to enter the Su's wood carving shop in the outer sect as a laborer. 3 years ago, he passed the woodcarver assessment and became a woodcarver for Su's, starting to practice martial arts. In just 3 years, from a country bumpkin to a fierce and wicked bull demon who killed off the entire skilled clan of the Yang family. Su Nanming's mind buzzed with confusion. There's a very high probability. Everything is too coincidental. Since the spirit infant sex experts started targeting Li Nuangzai, their experts have been dying one after another, all at the hands of the bull demon. Even if Li Che is not the bull demon, then Li Nuangzai has an extremely strong connection with the bull demon. To capture or even eliminate the bull demon, Li Nuangzai is key. The old master Su started to cough violently. His face flushed red. Grandmasters are truly strong. Even without divinity, relying solely on their physical bodies, they can match or even suppress divine base. The old man shook his head. Young city lord Cao Qing Yuan has taken people to Li Che's home. As long as we confirm that Li Che is the bull demon, sell everyone in Li Che's courtyard, washing our hands off the affair. Don't obstruct Cao Qing Yuan, whoever he wants to capture, it has nothing to do with us. The old master Su's eyes flickered. Yang Jing is incapacitated, the old ghost of the Si family is dead, and with 2 divine base experts less to share the benefits after the 1000 Buddha carving banquet, it would just be me and the old man from the Yin family, the 2 of us, enough to take in such advantages. At this critical juncture, we cannot afford to give the city lord's mansion any excuse, otherwise, everything will be wasted. Su Heli's eyes twinkled, and he said respectfully, as for the bull demon. The old master Su smiled faintly. Don't worry, that bull demon is as good as dead. Yang Jing is now a mad dog, biting anyone he catches, and of course, many divine base will not approach him easily. But during the fight with the bull demon, the surroundings were sealed off, making it impossible for the bull demon to escape. After ruining so many of the city lord's mansion's plans, someone already doesn't want this bull demon to continue living. The old master Su, watching the flickering rain mixed with snow. Today, the bull demon must die. Li Che, of course, knew the strength and difficulty of dealing with a divine base. He never underestimated the divine base, despite harboring thoughts of challenging them, he wouldn't choose to simply surrender his life. He had long set up an ambush in a small alley, laying out all the hidden weapons and mechanisms he had at his disposal, creating his own home ground. The immortal artisan Dao fruit had reached level 3, and its maturity was not low. Together with 1,000 analyzing hands, Li Che's operation of mechanisms and hidden weapons had also reached a top-notch level. Originally, Li Che's trap layout was prepared for the divine base cultivators of the spirit infant sect, but when old Deng from the Yang family personally scouted the area, Li Che would not hold back. He pulled out the Namo Gatling and sent him to see Buddha. Da-da-da-da-da. Flames shot out. 6 metal barrels spun rapidly, spitting fire, resembling glorious flame lotuses blossoming in the bull demon's palms. One after another, the wood ravens ignited, screaming miserably as they soared out, vaporizing and twisting the rain and snow as they slammed into the burly flesh mountain wrapped in 1,000 spider threads. Behind Yang Jing floated his divine foundation millstone, his pupils blood red, with the heart-shocking and sturdy divinity constantly sweeping across and spreading. Like the pounding of waves, the first wood ravens to shoot out were struck by his formidable divinity midair, exploding instantly, sending out waves of fire and shock waves. But there were too many. There were far too many wood ravens. To give the divine base cultivators sufficient respect, Li Che fired all 6,000 shots without reservation, bombarding them. The smoke from the burning gunpowder was pungent, permeating the air in the alley. The old Deng from the Yang family was instantly engulfed in sparks. The fireworks that exploded set ablaze flames that could not be extinguished even by the rain and snow. Like a mushroom cloud rising from the ground, the blast and shockwave shattered countless raindrops. Thick black smoke billowed up. Woo! Find more adventures on. After the last wood raven was fired, the metal barrels of the Nemo Gatling in the bull demon's hands glowed red hot, like branding irons, slowly rolling to a stop, hissing with steam. Li Che put away the Nemo Gatling, his eyes beneath the bull demon mask calmly watching the mountainous figure at the far end of the alley. As expected, 6,000 shots, not enough. Or perhaps, at the heart of it, it was the explosive power of the wood ravens that wasn't strong enough. Although the number was high, the quality was lacking, and the damage was ultimately limited. But it wasn't without effect. Chapter 84, The Bull Demon of Two Divinities, Bodhi Blood Tears, 2. The winter thunder rumbled and rolled, lightning snakes slithering through the air. It seemed as if violent storms were howling past, whisking away the dust and debris to reveal the figure of Meat Mountain Yang Jing, his skin split and flesh open, body charred. Drip drop, drip drop. Blood dripped onto the ground, making shattering sounds. Yang Jing's white hair flew wildly, as he gasped for breath heavily. It's really astonishing. I'm so surprised. Ah! Yang Jing suddenly threw his head back, his face torn and bleeding from the bombardment of wood ravens, a maniacal look in his eyes. Behind him, the millstone of his divine foundation shone brilliantly, its trailing divinity enveloping him like a thin veil. It was this veil of divinity that had shielded him from the relentless bombardment of 6,000 wood ravens. But his injuries were by no means light, his flesh was a mess, and even his organs and spine were visible to the naked eye. Such injuries only fueled Yang Jing's anger and madness. To think that a divine base cultivator could be pushed to such a state by someone who was merely nurturing nature. The dense divinity of heart shocking and sturdy surged out from his divine foundation like a tidal wave, turning into several rivers that filled the entire alley. Yang Jing intended to use the sheer pressure of his rank to completely crush the bull demon before his eyes. Divine foundation versus nurturing nature, the most effective, and also the most domineering, method. Rank suppression. Bull demon had chosen this alley and set up traps, but for Yang Jing, this was his home ground. Within such an alley, the oppression of the divine hierarchy was inescapable, the bull demon would have to face it head-on. Nurturing nature facing the divine foundation. The low-ranking, confronting the high-ranking. Get down on your knees, for this old man. Yang Jing let out a long howl, blood dripping, the meat mountain, blurred by the flesh torn by 6,000 wood ravens, beginning to move, taking one step and then running. The 1,000 spider threads were all snapped. Like a terrifying avalanche of flesh, it came crashing and rolling down. The ground shook as the mountain trembled, coupled with the horrific divinity continuously screeching and wailing, it almost burst one's eardrums. In Yang Jing's eyes, the bull demon was fixed in place, unable to move under the oppression of the divine foundation rank. All he needed to do was walk over and twist off the head of the bull demon to avenge his full Yang family. Winter thunder and snow fell from high above, yet before it could touch Meat Mountain, it evaporated and twisted into steam. The blood-red eyes of Meat Mountain carried a mad sneer. However, the next moment, his sneer froze. Because, under his effusive divine foundation divinity suppression, the bull demon seemed to be completely unaffected by the rank pressure, rebelliously raising its hand. In its hand appeared a fine iron great bow, drawing the bow, pulling the string. In an instant, the wailing of ghostly cries echoed through the alley. Divine martial technique. Angry cry town ghost. But that wasn't what primarily shook Yang Jing. The main reason came from the bull demon, which burst into a dazzling golden color as if it had donned a golden garment, looking like a wrathful Buddha bellowing in anger. Divinity. Wrathful Maitreya. Maitreya gold armor. Wait. Two divinities. And both at the cultivation as river-like level. What the hell is this? Hair standing on end and terror-stricken, Meat Mountain Yang Jing's chaotic and frenzied will seemed to awaken amidst this baffling scene. Impossible. advancing two divinities to the cultivation as river-like extent. Impossible. Meat Mountain Yangjing let out a muffled cry of shock. He didn't know if it was the influence of heart-shocking and sturdy divinity or the emotional shock itself. As the bull demon fully drew the bow, arrows coalesced with divinity and wind and thunder intertwined. It was the divine martial techniques of the Si family, the angry cry hundreds of ghosts wind thunder arrows. With the Maitreya gold armor enhancing him, his horizontal refinement strength received a boost. Under the support of wrathful Maitreya divinity, the power erupted from the sinewy strength of his back muscles. The longbow creaked and groaned, almost as if it would snap. On the tip of the angry cry hundreds of ghosts wind thunder arrow, entwined with divinity, was a wood carving shaped like a teardrop, made from blood flesh red spiritual wood, ranked 7th in Tang's mechanism essentials as Bodhi blood tears. Two divinities entwined, plus the 7th ranked mechanism. This was Li Che's all-out firepower. He wanted to seriously test the foundations of the divine foundation. With a flick of his 5 fingers, he suddenly let go. In an instant, the bowstring vibrated, accompanied by countless wails and the sound of wind and thunder. An arrow pierced through the rain and snow, smoothly cleaving, rippling shallow waves in the air, the wind and thunder as if tearing the barrier apart. It's useless, a cultivation as river-like divinity, can't break through my divine foundation divinity. Impossible, hey? Ack. The angry cry hundreds of ghosts wind thunder arrow brutally slammed into the divine martial arts garment draped outside of Meat Mountain Yangjing, but the next moment, indeed the wind thunder arrow couldn't penetrate the divine martial arts garment, yet the teardrop-shaped blood pearl tied to the arrowhead smoothly pierced through the divine base cultivator's divine garment. With a pft, it penetrated the thick layers of fat and flesh of Meat Mountain, infiltrating his body. That terrifying penetrating power. Even Li Che himself was somewhat surprised. Such penetration. The eyes beneath Li Che's bull demon mask grew brighter and brighter. And penetration was merely an incidental effect of Bodhi blood tears, the 7th listed artifact in Tang's mechanism essentials. Its true terror lay in the explosion. Boom! A muffled explosion suddenly burst forth from inside the body of Meat Mountain Yangjing. Bodhi blood tears bloomed out thousands upon thousands of exceedingly fine needles, each needle as if alive, curling up like shrimps in an instant, bringing up clumps of blood and flesh. The next moment, Li Che saw Meat Mountain Yangjing's body, a divine base cultivator, riddled with hundreds of bloody holes, each hole dripping with large blood pearls, uncontrollably rolling out. Drip drop drip drop. Like blood-colored, broken tears. In an instant, it seemed as if all the blood from Yangjing's body had been completely drained. A person, even an Suanmei warrior if drained of blood, would probably be unable to withstand it. Dizziness, loss of strength, blurring consciousness. Thump. Yangjing knelt on the ground. Li Che then raised his longbow again, bending the bow, firing in rapid succession. Angry cry hundreds of ghosts wind thunder arrow. Arrow after arrow, all blasting towards the enormous head of Yangjing. Finally, with a thud, the massive head, under the bombardment of wind and thunder, explosively shattered. The divine foundation millstone floating behind Meat Mountain, creak creak, became covered in cracks, bursting into pieces. Most of it dissipated back into the world, leaving only a fragment of the divine foundation, falling into the pool of thick blood. After delivering a steady and cautious barrage of arrows at the corpse. Find adventures it. The stalwart figure of the ox demon moved in with heavy steps, unceremoniously collecting the divine foundation fragment, and continued to turn over the body, seizing the fruits of his efforts. City Lord's Mansion. City Lord Cao Guang, holding a spirit infant statue resembling the mysterious temple's spirit infant temple god extremely closely, was delicately absorbing the divinity within. On his forehead, a black stream seemed to be gathering, the brow occasionally swelling, then smoothing out, as if something was straining to break out. Suddenly, City Lord Cao Guang's eyes snapped open. After carefully placing down the replica temple god's three-eyed spirit infant statue, he flickered and appeared on the rooftop of the City Lord's mansion with its curved ridges, dark tiles twisting beneath him. The snow and rain swirled around his head. His eyes flickered incessantly, sensing the divinity that sealed the alleys, as surprise emerged like dense ink from his pupils. How did the aura of the Yang family's divine foundation disappear so quickly? Gone. Li family's courtyard. Wind and snow whirling. Cao Qing Yuan, carrying a side knife, followed by the sole remaining divine catcher Zhongxiang Yang, along with several black yeoman constables, formed a line and crossed the alleys, coming to Li Chei's courtyard in the inner city. The courtyard door was closed tight, laughter from children playing excitedly could be heard inside. Cao Qing Yuan paused, seemingly not expecting Li Chei's household to be so peaceful and harmonious. This was not quite what he had imagined. With a slightly frowning brow, Cao Qing Yuan raised his hand and knocked on the door. A moment later, with a creak, Li Chei, clad in a neat and tidy black martial outfit, cordial and composed, opened the door. Chapter 85, Dao Fruit transforms again, Dragon Elephant Vajra, ascend. The incessant winter rain, mixed with icy snow, fell without respite. And family courtyard, as silent as usual. As the most low-key among the four major noble families in Feilei City, the An family had a low profile, whether it was the divine base ancestor or the family direct descendant known as one of the three young masters of Feilei, An Ruosu. However, low profile as they might be, very few powers dared to underestimate the An family. It was rumored that the true direct eldest son of the An family was highly favored by the divine sect in his youth, taken to cultivate within the Qian Yuan divine sect, and possessing extremely high talent, he received great attention from a high-ranking cultivator of the divine sect. Therefore, this underpinned the An family's heritage. Having someone within the divine sect was an extraordinary foundation, a heritage incomparable even to the Yang family, Su family, and the former Si family. Today, in the An family courtyard, the old master An, the only divine base cultivator in the family, with white hair and wearing a white robe, sat cross-legged on a divan, where a hurriedly placed furnace emitted warmth, dispelling the damp chill brought by the winter rain. Enjoy reading it. Yang Jing and the Bull Demon fought fiercely on the long street. Nurturing nature battles divine base, brave indeed. Old Master An stroked his beard and said calmly. This Bull Demon acts recklessly and brutally, completely unreasonable. Fortunately, our An family never agreed to the city lord's request to raid the Su family's Divine Cultivation Institute to kidnap the spirit child. Beneath Old Master An, one of the three young masters of Feilei, An Ruosu, frowned and said, this Bull Demon has bizarre methods, skilled in the way of mechanisms, perhaps that's why he dared to battle a divine base. Didn't the Tang family mechanism family, famous across the entire Great Vista back in the day, rely on their mechanical techniques to battle beyond their rank? Could this Bull Demon be a remnant of the Tang family? Old Master An looked at An Ruosu gravely and said, mind your words. Such topics should not be discussed lightly, be careful and prudent, evaluate the situation, and think of dangers in times of safety, that is the key to our family's enduring prosperity. No matter who this Bull Demon is, do not provoke him, our An family cannot afford such a calamity. Old Master An said solemnly. As for the spirit child the city lord's mansion wanted, we have handed him over, and we will not interfere in the city lord's 1000 Buddha carving banquet. Our family affairs have also been settled, we will move out of Feilei City in 2 days and head to Golden Light Prefecture City to join your elder brother. An Ruosu exhaled, somewhat reluctant, but still nodded. Understood. Suddenly, the elegantly seated Old Master An's eyebrows fluttered up, and his gaze sharpened. In an instant, white smoke billowed from his body, gradually gathering into a blurred figure that drifted up to the roof, as if emerging from a dream. This was the An family's divinity, 100 turns of worried dreams. Whoosh! A sound like a sharp intake of breath as the smoke that drifted up to the roof instantly returned to Old Master An's body through his heavenly spirit cover. With a shudder, Old Master An wore a worried face. Bull, oh Bull! Old Yang is gone. Upon hearing this, An Ruosu was profoundly shaken. What? Yet, Old Master An raised his head, his expression growing even more troubled. This Bull Demon, what kind of monster is he? Si family, Yang family, could the next one be our An family? Too frightening. Can't wait for 3 days. Quickly notify our clan, the day after tomorrow. No. Tomorrow. Tomorrow we will all leave the city. The cold rainwater accumulated at the edge of the bamboo hat, then overflowed, forming a curtain of water, constantly dripping. Cao King Yuan's eyes narrowed, his hand knocking on the door paused in mid-air, frozen. The air seemed to have become stagnant. Seeing Li Chei open the door, seeing that scholarly and gentle face. For a moment, Cao Qing Yuan felt dizzy and confused. Li Chei, how could he be here? Wasn't he the Bull Demon? Wasn't he supposed to be fighting Yang Jing on the street, then brutally killed by Yang Jing, the rampaging divine base? But why is Li Che here? Appearing leisurely and scholarly, showing no signs of having just fought a life-and-death battle. Could it be? Was he mistaken? Cao King Yuan's mind buzzed, his previous assertions at this moment seemed almost like a joke. Zhang Xiangyang, who was following him, also wore a confused face. Isn't Li Che supposed to open the door? According to the young city lord's guess, the likelihood of Li Che being the bull demon was 90%. But since Li Che is here, then who is the bull demon fighting Yang Jing? Chaos, all guesses are now in chaos. Master Li, hehe, are you at home? Cao Qing Yuan quickly recovered, his eyes flickering intensely, looking at Li Che with a somewhat forced smile. Li Che, surprised and confused, said, what the young city lord is saying, now even the Su family's Divine Cultivation Institute has been raided, I'm worried about my daughter's safety, where else should I be if not at home? I dare not wander around, I must stay by her side at all times. Cao Qing Yuan smiled, that's true, but all those who attacked the Su family's Divine Cultivation Institute have been severely punished, Master Li can be at ease now. That won't do. That bull demon is still out there, right? How frightening, that bull demon, killed many people, truly terrifying. Li Che shook his head, his face full of fright. Cao Qing Yuan paused. Something felt off. Very strange. His gaze lifted, looking into the courtyard, and instantly saw Xixi riding a twist car under the eaves. What brings the young city lord here today? Li Che asked straightforwardly. Cao King Yuan's gaze fell back on Li Che, the task I entrusted to Master Li some days ago. I wonder if Master Li has begun carving. My father greatly admires Master Li, so. However, Li Che shook his head apologetically, took out the gold leaf, and handed it back to Cao Qing Yuan. Chapter 86, Dao Fruit Transforms Again, Dragon Elephant Vajra, Ascend, 2. I apologize, young city lord, but I must decline the wood carving task. I haven't even started carving. My daughter has encountered great evil and nearly got kidnapped. My heart. I can't calm down to do the carving, and the carving wouldn't be perfect. Imperfect work. I can't accept it, so. Would you please convey a message to Lord of the City for me? That I genuinely feel unworthy of the City Lord's trust. Cao King Yuan's expression immediately turned frosty. Master Li, aren't you taking this a bit too far? After all this time, you took the order, and with your grandmaster craftsmanship, you should have completed the wood carving by now. My father said, he doesn't require a divine wood carving, just one crafted by a grandmaster's hand should suffice. Surely a non-divine wood carving is not too difficult for you. It would be but a trivial task for you, Master Li. Could it be that you are looking down on the city lord's mansion, unwilling to grant us even the slightest bit of face? Or is it that, over this period, Master Li has been preoccupied with other matters, with no time to carve the wood carving? The air instantly filled with tension, and the rain and snow floating down from the sky seemed to take on the sharpness of the divine foundation divinity radiating from Cao Qing Yuan. Or perhaps, Master Li, are you that bull demon? Cao King Yuan's voice exploded like thunder beside the ear. Yet Li Che was far from intimidated, his face filled with feigned horror. Young city lord, slander, that's slander. Hunter Zhang. But Cao Qing Yuan remained impassive. The rainfall seemed to suddenly freeze. Behind him, the lone figure of divine catcher Zhang Xiangyang stiffened, steeling himself to take a step forward. Terrifying trace of light seeks out the fear. I do want to see if Master Li has been truly afraid of the bull demon these days, worried about his daughter's safety. Zhang Xiangyang, wearing his bamboo hat, suddenly looked up. His rough face and whiskers were flying, and his eyes seemed to shine with a faint blue glow. He stared at Li Che, and a river-like divinity surged out from Zhang Xiangyang. Terrifying trace of light. He was going to backtrack through certain fragments of Li Che's past. Li Che frowned deeply. This was too much. Cao King Yuan's aggressive stance made him want to put on a mask. However, just as he was about to take action, a raindrop suddenly shot out from the courtyard with a whistling sound. With a snap, it shattered Zhang Xianjiang's dissipating divinity. Zhang Xianjiang's body shook violently, his bamboo hat cleaved in half down the middle by the shooting raindrop, the force of which caused Zhang Xiangyang to fall backward onto the puddle-filled cobblestone ground in the alley. A powerful surge of vital energy slowly dissipated within the raindrop. Zhang Xiangyang turned pale, feeling as if he had just taken a stroll at the doorstep of the King of Hell. If that raindrop had wished to kill him, it certainly could have instantly pierced through his head and divinity, ending him utterly. Who? Cao King Yuan's eyes narrowed. He suddenly looked towards the courtyard behind Li Che. Then he finally noticed the old man sitting under the eaves, a wooden chessboard before him, pinching a black chess piece, deep in thought. The people from the city lord's mansion are indeed domineering, using divinity to pry into others' privacy at will. Do you not know that the use of terrifying trace of light can have a negative impact on a person's mind? The old man glanced at Cao Qing Yuan, making all the hairs on Cao King Yuan's body stand on end involuntarily. It was just a look, but it made him feel the presence of imminent death. As if facing some great, terrifying entity. And you are? Cao Qing Yuan released his grip on the handle of his knife and bowed with folded hands, his attitude becoming somewhat gentler. The sound of ripping air suddenly filled the surroundings. A tall figure landed beside Cao Qing Yuan, the man dressed in black and red official robes, his face gentle and scholarly with a well-groomed beard, smiling as he looked at the old man sitting across the chessboard in the courtyard. Father! Cao Qing Yuan respectfully bowed. So it's a senior from the divine sect. My son has been disrespectful, I hope the senior won't take offense. City Lord Cao Guang, however, did not pay attention to Cao Qing Yuan but instead continued to gaze deeply at the old man under the eaves. Li Qingshan held onto the chess piece, his eyes fixed on the game laid out on the chessboard. Your journey starts at. Being ignored, Cao Guang didn't seem to mind much, as if it was something quite normal. He continued to smile, turning his gaze towards Li Che. Master Li, truly unwelcoming to fulfill my request for a wood carving. Even a non-divine wood carving is unacceptable. Li Che looked at City Lord Cao Guang and for the first time felt an extremely intense sense of danger, especially inside the chess Saint Dao fruit. Those black chess pieces that had absorbed divinity from the temple gods seemed to tremble on the board as if agitated with restlessness. In recent days, I've been preoccupied with my daughter's safety and have been troubled, truly lacking the energy to carve. Please forgive me, Lord of the city. Li Che bowed, neither servile nor haughty. Very well, Master Li indeed is a good father. Since Master Li is unwilling, then let it be. As for my son's speculations, Master Li should not take them to heart. A gentle and accommodating man like Master Li, how could he possibly be the vicious and bloodthirsty bull demon? City Lord Cao Guang said, shaking his head and smiling. Then, he turned his attention again to the old man under the eaves. The senior came from the divine sect, perhaps to assess the spirit child? May I know which esteemed person of the divine sect you are? Might I be privy to the senior's name? Cao Guang inquired. The elder with the black piece gently placed the chess piece on the board. City Lord Cao has quite the appetite, deserving to know this old man's name. I am from Qianyuan's subdivision. Li Qingshan. At the sound of that, Cao Guang was momentarily stunned. Then, his pupils suddenly constricted. Li Qingshan. It was indeed him. Unbeknownst to him, the martial artist who had reached the Grandmaster realm, the one wearing the cat-faced mask he had clashed with several times, was actually Li Qingshan. Chapter 87, Dao Fruit Transforms Again, Dragon Elephant Vajra, Ascend, 3. In Cao Guang's tightly drawn eyes, a sudden burst of tension and urgency erupted. So it's Senior Li, Qingshan's renown is indeed as loud as thunder. Who in the martial world does not know? I'll take my leave now. After speaking, Cao Guang quickly grabbed Cao Qing Yuan and disappeared swiftly, leaving behind Zhang Xiangyang lying in the wet ground, drenched and utterly despondent. Zhang Xiangyang struggled to get up, then looked up into the deep gaze of Li Che. It seemed there was a hint of greed and desire in that gaze. Zhang Xiangyang hurriedly scrambled away and ran wildly through the rain. As he turned his back on Li Che, every hair on Zhang Xiangyang's body stood on end, a familiar feeling, like when Zhou Ruoguan was killed, the feeling of frantically fleeing. The feeling that his head could explode from a strike at any moment. Li Che, must be the bull demon. He must be. Li Che regretfully withdrew his gaze. Yet, he looked with a touch of astonishment towards Qingshan, who was arranging a chess game under the eave. The reaction of City Lord Cao Guang, Li Che felt it very clearly. Qing Shan. Is he that famous? Li Che couldn't help but murmur in his heart. While Li Che was marveling at Qing Shan himself was somewhat astonished as well. He was astonished that Li Che had actually killed the Yang family's divine base. Nurturing nature killed divine base. Ignoring the rank difference. Could Li Che actually accomplish this? The rank of the divinity he cultivated wasn't that high, was it? Nor was it one of the four imperials level, like the Fury Prince that Liu Qi cultivated. The most important thing was, after killing Yang Jing, when did Li Che return to the study? When Li Che came out from the study looking elegant and learned, Qing Shan was taken aback, thinking that the bull demon was someone else. But after thinking carefully, it could only be attributed to Li Che's technique of concealing his vital energy, able to evade the perception of the divine base, a truly divine method indeed. How did you manage that, boy? Qing Shan asked. Of course, he was referring to how he killed the divine base. Li Che smiled gently and spread his hands. Honest, but not entirely. It's the mechanism. After Qing Shan left, Li Che comforted his wife, Zhang Yi, who looked worried, and then went to the study. The chess saint's Dao fruit vibrated slightly, expanding the chessboard network, covering the surroundings, ensuring no powerful being was spying, all was safe and sound. Find exclusive tales it. Only then did Li Che sit in the wooden chair, relaxed his body completely, and let out a long sigh. In the room, the charcoal stove burned quietly, releasing heat and dispelling the biting cold. Every muscle in Li Che's body relaxed with cracking sounds. The battle with the divine base was very refreshing. Divine base cultivator is indeed strong, combined two types of divinity, still not enough compared to divine base, but the Bodhi blood tears far surpassed my expectations. Its penetration power, explosiveness, and killing potential all were much higher than the wood raven. It seems that Namo Barrett has some good points. Li Che grinned. But what made him even more emotionally stirred was, with a move of his mind, a hint of flowing light appeared. Dao fruit, dragon elephant Vajra, LV 2,97%. High pressure stimulation has a great effect on the maturation of dragon elephant Vajra, only 3% to go. Li Che's eyes shone brightly. Without any hesitation, using the complementary properties of the Dao fruit, he channeled the divinity of pure heart Dao fruit into dragon elephant Vajra, completing the Dao fruit. The next moment, Li Che felt as if the blood under his skin was boiling. Suddenly, a golden light flashed before his eyes. Dao fruit, dragon elephant Vajra, LV 3,0%. Dao fruit LV3, upon further transformation, obtains the prototype of divine powers dragon elephant Vajra, ascend. Chapter 88, Ascending the Tower to Meet the Gods, Divine Weapon the Lu Blood Shock Spear. The cold wind whistled, and the falling rain turned to ice. At the entrance of the alley, a thick scent of blood pervaded and intertwined, striking the nostrils with its intensity. Cao Qing Yuan galloped into action, his vigorous qi and blood whipping the air, emitting a mournful, whistling sound as he landed at the mouth of the alley, catching the scent of blood before even stepping inside. The ground was in disarray, with many of Feilei City's bluestone streets covered in cracks, traces of the aftermath of battle still present, indicating the ferocity of the fight. He stepped into the alley. Beneath his feet, it was not rainwater he trod upon, but a thick, sanguine liquid. How much blood had been spilled to dye the accumulated water red? When Cao Qing Yuan saw the corpse of the divine base cultivator from the Yang family, Yang Jing, his complexion turned ghastly pale. Even he, who was accustomed to dead bodies, couldn't help feeling a surge of emotion at this moment. Yang Jing's manner of death was too tragic. His body was riddled with dense and numerous blood holes, his blood drained, and his head shattered by a blow. These methods were chilling to the bone, causing incessant shivers. This bull demon is too malevolent, too sinister. Truly earning his nickname, the bull demon is nothing but a devil incarnate. Claiming to be a hero, he doesn't even come close to having the skin of one. Taking a deep breath, Cao Qing Yuan placed his hand on the side knife at his waist, his breathing erratic. Suppressing his revulsion, Cao Qing Yuan picked up the decaying, mountainous corpse of Yang Jing. He had no desire to make this trip, but his father, the city lord, had ordered him to retrieve Yang Jing's body, so he had no choice but to come. How lamentable, a divine base cultivator who stood tall in Feilei City for 100 years, to die such a miserable death. The Yang family is truly unfortunate, their entire household of experts annihilated, their ancestral divine base founder cruelly killed, the Yang family completely ruined. Cao Qingyuan shook his head. Upon closer reflection, what did the Yang family do wrong? It seemed they hadn't done anything wrong. It was only from the moment they agreed to help the city lord's mansion capture the spirit child from the Su family that they started on the path to their doom. The bull demon alone slaughtered the entire Yang family. The reason? Capturing the spirit child from the Su family. Cao Qingyuan narrowed his eyes, thinking of Li Chei's daughter, that upper-class spiritual child. What a pity! Boom! With a surge of qi and blood, Cao Qingyuan shouldered the blood-stained corpse of Yang Jing and vanished from the alley. Golden light flowed, seeming like gilded gold in the pupils of the eyes. The physical body's qi and blood swelled and boiled ferociously, like the raging waves crashing against the river bank. The Dao fruit dragon elephant Vajra had finally reached LV3, undergoing a transformation and giving birth to the prototype of divine skills. Prototype of divine skills. Dragon elephant Vajra, ascend. This was the transformation that Li Chei had long anticipated. Compared to Dao fruit immortal artisan, the transformation of the dragon elephant Vajra was much more difficult, a true test of patience and diligence. Mainly it required combat, of the highly stimulating and intense variety. Stimulating the Dao fruit in battle would bring it closer to maturity. In fact, the reason why Li Chei's immortal artisan Dao fruit progressed so quickly had much to do with Tang's mechanism essentials. The mechanisms recorded within, integrated with Li Chei's own concepts and attempts at reproduction and crafting, provided a wealth of experience for immortal artisan. Therefore, the immortal artisan progressed much faster. Prototype of divine skills. Ascend. Li Chei's eyes shone brightly. Different Dao fruits could give rise to different prototypes of divine skills, and the divine skills prototypes, could they transform into true divine skills? Li Chei couldn't help looking forward to the moment when these divine skill prototypes transformed into true divine skills. Perhaps, reaching LV4 or LV5 of the Dao fruit could trigger the transformation of divine skills. Li Chei pondered. With a thought, the Dao fruit dragon elephant Vajra in his chest throbbed, each beat burning brightly like a fierce flame. Prototype of divine skills, dragon elephant Vajra, ascend, boiling divinity, rising flesh and bones, perfect horizontal refinement, a sight to all gods. Lines of flowing gold appeared before his eyes. With furrowed brows and puzzled, Li Chei found the line of description somewhat enigmatic. After a brief sensation, Li Chei didn't activate ascend in his study, but feeling the eager and nearly transformative surge of qi and blood, he speculated that ascend must be a state enhancement more powerful than the Dao fruit's own Vajra transformation. The angry Vajra transformation was already immensely powerful. If it could elevate Li Chei's qi and blood cultivation from the qi vein realm to the mysterious vein, would activating ascend propel him directly to the divine vein level? Li Chei wasn't sure, but his mood soared. ALV3 Dragon Elephant Vajra provides a significant boost to qi and blood cultivation. Even without relying on the divine skills prototype, it would be of even greater help to me. Li Chei's eyes shone brightly. However, he slowly suppressed his excitement, from killing old Deng of the Yang family to using the anchor point of the thunder chess piece left in the study to return. Li Chei's actions were swift, and it was precisely because of this that he managed to return to the courtyard before Cao Qingyuan and the others. He wasn't deliberately racing against time, but killing Yang Jing really hadn't taken much time, and secondly, escaping with the thunder chess piece was part of the plan he had already prepared. Whether the bull demon's identity was exposed or not, Li Chei truly didn't care anymore. Experience the journey on. With the divine sect strongman Li Qingshan backing him, the safety of this 22-year-old spirit child and his supreme spiritual child daughter was assured. His fingers came together, slicing through the air, tearing open the fabric of space. From it, he retrieved a Qunkan jade with intricate patterns. This was the Qunkan jade of the Yang family's divine base figurehead. Old Deng Gong could feel its superior quality immediately upon touching it, far exceeding the Qunkan jades Li Chei had obtained from Si Mubai, Yang Kai He, and others. A higher quality Qunkan jade. Li Chei's mind stirred slightly, and in the next moment, the Dao fruit pure heart trembled, releasing pristine immaculate heart divinity that erupted forth, engulfing the high-quality Qunkan jade. Chapter 89, Ascending the Tower, Gods Visit Me, the Divine Weapon Gilded Bloodthorn Shocking Spear, 2. Boom. Li Chei only felt the Dao fruit of pure heart trembling at an extremely high frequency, and then it directly swallowed and refined old Deng's Qunkan jade. The Qunkan space expanded once again, becoming much larger. If it was originally the size of a small room, now the Kyunkan space was as big as a basketball court. Li Che couldn't help but smile at the corners of his lips, marveling at the size of the space. To fill it with gold leaves, how many would it take? Killing enemies isn't the key, taking inventory of an opponent's wealth is the most pleasurable moment. That's the reward he earned through his own skills, and taking pleasure in it is only appropriate. 20 gold ingots, 1,000 gold leaves, 5,460 taels of silver. Li Che's eyes sparkled as he took inventory of the wealth of a divine base cultivator. These mundane riches were enough to shock him. That was a wealth that ordinary people couldn't even imagine in their lifetimes. However, Li Che's capacity to accept such wealth had also greatly increased now. Shifting his gaze, he began to take inventory of other items. Discover new adventures at. With a grab of his 5 fingers, a long spear with red patterns emerged from the Kyunkan space and was caught in his hand. The moment he grasped the long spear, Li Che felt his head buzzing. Shrill screams seemed to ring in his ears, almost piercing through his eardrums and shattering his mind. This is a divine weapon. Li Che's eyes narrowed. Divine weapon. Nurtured with divinity, possessing extraordinary sharpness and abilities, extremely precious. For divine cultivators, items of divinity such as methods of nurturing nature, divine wood carvings, and divine weapons, are what they pursue. Li Che had never seen a divine weapon before, whether from Si Mubai, Yang Kai He, Zhao Suanhai, Zhou Ruoguan, and other divine catchers, none had a divine weapon in their possession. Even Zhao Suanhai's fine iron long knife was not considered a divine weapon. His palm suddenly turned jade, immortal worker, 1,000 analyzing hands. Suddenly, information flowed into Li Che's mind. Divine weapon, 9 luminaries superior gilded blood shock spear. Craftsmanship, forged from century-old cold iron, blended with the blood of the ominous bird shock, infused with the awe-inspiring divinity, and after being hammered and refined by fierce fire thousands of times, it can activate awe-inspiring divinity, and when the spear is thrust, all spirits are shocked and hearts are captured. Appropriate for those with awe-inspiring divinity technique, nurturing river realm and above. Looking at the information analyzed by the 1,000 analyzing hands, Li Che was slightly stunned, never having thought 1,000 analyzing hands had this ability. It could even analyze the name of the divine weapon, the forging process, and so on. Perhaps, this is the true way to activate 1,000 analyzing hands? A divine weapon of the 9 luminaries superior level. Li Che took a deep breath. As expected of a divine base cultivator, their wealth was indeed far beyond the reach of paupers like Zhao Suanhai. Why didn't you use this divine weapon when you fought me? Were you careless? Or was it because at that time, old Deng's consciousness had already been occupied by the divine foundation divinity, so he couldn't actively mobilize the divine weapon? Li Che's gaze flickered, inevitably thinking. If the divine weapon had been used, Yang Jing's strength might have been even stronger, and perhaps he wouldn't have died so miserably, right? But, that's all post-event wisdom. Now, this shock spear belongs to Li. Apart from the divine weapon, Li Che also unexpectedly found many rare materials, including a piece of blood flesh red spiritual wood needed for the making of Bodhi blood tears, and several other types of spiritual wood, clearly prepared for carving divine wood carvings. Even if one's cultivation reached the divine base realm, one couldn't do without divine wood carvings, the requirements for the carvings just became higher. Just as martial practice needs elixirs, divine cultivation cannot do without items of divinity. He stored away the divine weapon and many pieces of spiritual wood. Li Che continued to take inventory. This is divine foundation technique. 9 luminaries heart-shocking and sturdy divine foundation casting method. A 9 luminaries level method for casting the divine foundation. What a treasure! Nurturing nature methods are valuable, but divine foundation techniques are even more so. They are the foundation that every noble family keeps hidden. Li Che didn't even find one in the Yang family treasure house, and old Deng had been carrying it on his person. With a method for casting the divine foundation, Li Che felt much more at ease, at least now he had a path to cast his divine foundation in the future. He sensed the 81 black divine foundation divinity chess pieces extracted from Yang Jing's corpse inside the Dao fruit of Chess Saint. Besides that, there was also a divine foundation fragment, containing vast heart-shocking and sturdy divinity, enough for him to quickly reach the nurturing river realm. After finishing the inventory, Li Che was somewhat dazzled by the bounty. Having stored all the gains in the expanded Kyunkan space, Li Che stood up and walked to the window, feeling the winter rain mixed with snow spraying on his face. Li Chei's fluctuating emotions slowly returned to calm. He returned to his study, intending to try out the enhancements brought by the advanced Dragon Elephant Vajradeo fruit in terms of martial talent. He took a meditation cushion and sat cross-legged, and then tore open the Kyunkan space. A jade vase fell into his hand. Python blood martial pill. He poured out a blood-red elixir, opened his mouth, and a pill went down, immediately feeling like a heavy stone dropping, a thud sound as it fell from his throat all the way into his stomach. Boom! Instantly, his stomach was like a furnace, his blood began to boil uncontrollably, pouring into his limbs and bones, impacting his meridians and channels. City Lord's Mansion. Dense steam twisted and rose in the hall. Cao King Yuan's great-uncle, another Divine Foundation realm cultivator in charge of the City Lord's Mansion, Cao He. He had stripped off his clothes, revealing his chest imprinted with palm prints, where mighty Grandmaster Truchi writhed like a venomous snake, making the wounds difficult to heal. Cao He had his eyes closed, clutching a three-eyed spirit infant statue, strands of black divinity spreading from it and being swallowed by him to treat his injuries. Chapter 90, Ascending the Tower, Deities Visit Me, Divine Weapon Lu Blood Shock Spear, 3. Cao Qing Yuan stood by the side, his eyelids drooping low. In front of him lay the mountainous corpse of Yang Jing. Cao Guang strolled around with his hands behind his back, admiring this blood-hole-ridden flesh mountain. The blood had been drained clean, and there was hardly any smell of blood in the air. What a bold demon, with only nurturing nature, yet he can kill those with divine foundation. Yang Jing is also pitiful, having become a stepping stone for this bold demon, Cao Guang said with admiration. Nurturing nature killing divine foundation, I'm afraid tales of the bold demon will begin to spread in the martial world, he added. Cao Qing Yuan suddenly lifted his head, his gaze flickering uncertainly. Father, is that bold demon Li Chei? Whether it is or isn't no longer matters. Li Chei, and his daughter, we can't touch them for the time being. Sighed Cao Guang, shaking his head slightly. Is Li Chei the bold demon? For Cao Guang, this question lost its meaning. Is it because of the arrival from the Qian Yuan divine sect? Cao Qing Yuan asked after a moment of silence. Although only experts from the branch sect came, it's still the Qian Yuan divine sect, the top sect of the Lingnan circuit, with its status clear for all to see, Cao Guang explained. Moreover, the arrival is none other than Li Qingshan. Cao Guang reached out his hand gently, touching the blood-hole-ridden corpse of Yang Jing, his movements tender. Li Qingshan, is he very famous? Cao Qing Yuan asked upon hearing this. Cao Guang took a deep breath and glanced at him. I should have sent you to Yun province earlier, to gain some exposure. Then you wouldn't ask such a question, he shook his head slightly. Cao Qing Yuan was taken aback. Just tell me I lack experience, instead of indirectly showing disdain, which kind of hurts. Have you ever heard of the Yunzhou Divine Foundation spectrum? Cao Guang inquired while his fingers probed a certain spot on Yang Jing's corpse, pinching into it as he spoke evenly. The Divine Foundation spectrum. Cao Qing Yuan took a deep breath. Is this Li Qingshan a master listed on the Divine Foundation spectrum? The Divine Foundation spectrum is published by the Grand Prospect Dynasty's Kintian Observatory, evaluating the martial artists across the Great Vista region. Besides, it contains the Divine Phase diagram. Those who are included in the spectrum have cast their divine foundation and cultivated their divine phase, at least reaching 4 imperials, explained Cao Guang. Li Qingshan ranks among the top 10 masters on Yun province's divine foundation spectrum, having reached divine base perfection, and preparing to observe divine likeness. Stay tuned for updates on MVL Novel Bin. Cao Guang, with his eyes closed, said, I had not expected that the greeter sent down to Yun province by the Qian Yuan branch sect this year would be Li Qingshan. To strike at divine phase, one needs to gather divinity to observe the temple god's true form. During the observation period, divinity cannot be disturbed. Li Qingshan hasn't descended the mountain with his divine phase, and with divinity not empowering him, now he can only rely on the Grand Master's physical body, no wonder. This is our luck. Otherwise, we would have been smashed to death a long time ago, he stated. This Li Qingshan, known as the Yun Province Hammer Tyrant, wields the divine weapon Purple Gold Hammer, smashing through countless masters' skulls. His notoriety is indeed widespread. Lucky, aren't we? Cao Guang exhaled. So, for now, we can't touch Li Che and his superior grade spiritual child daughter, he continued. Regardless of whether Li Che is the bull demon or not, since Li Qingshan has revealed his identity to protect him, we dare not touch him any further, Cao Guang affirmed. The 1000 Buddha carving banquet has to be accelerated. I worry that Li Qingshan is considering smashing my head in with his hammer, he mused aloud. Suddenly, Cao Guang abruptly opened his eyes, his brows furrowing into a character. Something's not right. Where is Yang Jing's divinity? The divinity within his body, why is there not a drop left? Cao Guang, with his own divinity surging, pressed forcefully, and with a squeeze of his 5 fingers. There was a bang. The huge mountainous corpse of Yang Jing in front of him twisted and writhed before exploding into pieces, with chunks of flesh and broken bones flying across the entire hall. Cao Qingyuan, standing nearby, was splattered all over, remaining utterly stunned in place. As for Cao Guang, he showed a hint of ferocity. Who is it? Who devoured all the divinity in Yang Jing's body? Are there still people from our sect in Feilei City? No. That shouldn't be the case. Is it the bull demon? Could this bull demon actually be one of our own? Chapter 91, The Drained Temple God, Three-Eyed Wrathful True Lord Foundation Technique. Even if a divine base cultivator perished, the divinity within their body wouldn't dissipate in a short time, but would still remain. At that time, if one were to use some secret techniques, it would be possible to devour the divinity in the corpse and use it for oneself. Although there might be situations where the divinity doesn't match. But even if it didn't match, one could still refine and extract it, and remove the mismatched wool of divinity. Such secret techniques originally spread from a high-rank mysterious temple, and later became a sect protection method of a major heretical sect in the Great Scenery Jianghu, leading to one massacre after another. Cao Guang's gaze flickered as his heart trembled slightly. He had obtained such a technique from the section. But now when he used it, he couldn't feel any divinity from Yang Jing's corpse, which was very unreasonable. This bull demon. Cao Guang narrowed his eyes, and in a flash, as if he realized something, he appeared somewhat enlightened. No wonder the bull demon's strength increased so rapidly with each appearance. While extraordinary martial talent is certainly one reason, the enhancement of its divine power is equally fast. It turns out to be the same as me, which explains it. However, who passed the technique to the bull demon? Why did the bull demon appear in Feilei City? Is it to target me? Or, to pluck the fruits of my 1000 Buddha carving banquet? Cao Guang felt as though a dark shadow was watching him from the darkness, like the deadliest viper in the world. Ultimately, he chuckled coldly. No matter what, this bull demon is not my equal. Even if it is a member of the same sect, I am the senior, and juniors should respectfully stay juniors, and be content with just sipping soup. If you want the fruits, be prepared to leave your life behind. Cao Guang's eyes took on a few degrees of coldness. Afterwards, he glanced at Cao Qingyuan, splattered with rotten meat and broken bones, with full disgust. Clean up this disgusting mess. Then, go to other cities, send people to bring back a few spirit children to fill the empty spots. The 1000 Buddha carving banquet must be accelerated. As the words fell, Cao Guang stepped away and vanished around the corner of the hall. Cao Qingyuan respectfully performed a ritual, not daring to object. However, in reality, within his bowed head, his eyes were also ablaze. The 1000 Buddha carving banquet. The blessing of the temple god. He had also been looking forward to it for a long time. Kerplunk. A python blood martial pill plunged into the stomach, making a dull sound like a stone falling into a grand lake. This was an elixir that could only be consumed in the meridian connection realm. The blood energy broke through into the qi channels, forming a minor circulation of inner qi within the body, running along sinews and muscles, covering the 5 viscera and 6 bowels. Each cycle was a blend of inner strength and blood energy, creating a powerful surge of inner qi. Li Che could feel the python blood martial pill rolling in his stomach, slowly releasing its medicinal properties as it dissolved in the gastric juices. Boom! The moment the outer coating of the pill shattered, it was as if a python was stirring up a storm in his stomach. The blood energy was lit up like fire, and his insides were heating up like a furnace. The dragon elephant Vajradeo fruit vibrated with a hum, as if there were dragon chants and elephant cries. The python blood martial pill was crushed in an instant. The overwhelming medicinal power rose like a gust of wind, propelling the blood energy and roaring through the meridians, scouring the 5 viscera and 6 bowels like a wild surge. Li Chei's entire body made sounds of metal friction, and his skin turned reddish. How overbearing! Li Chei's eyes opened, as if with flames burning within. For ordinary people refining a python blood martial pill, it required a slow and enduring process. The dragon elephant Vajra Deo fruit directly crushed the pill, forcibly initiating the release of its medicinal power. Li Chei's body buzzed and swelled out, his flesh expanding as thick python-like sinews vibrated on his back. His body had a unique rhythm, driving his blood energy and integrating with his inner strength. The Qian Yuan minor celestial circuit Qi meridian technique was almost squeezed to its limit by his flesh. Inner Qi kept generating, filling his limbs and bones. The Qi meridian realm in the meridian connection stage, different from the external refinement stages like millstone, sinew transforming, bone tempering, etc., was a process of internal refinement of muscles and bones, the 5 viscera and 6 bowels. It could be called internal refinement of sinews and organs. But while refining internally, it was also necessary to accumulate inner Qi. The growth of inner Qi was the foundation for enhancing the Qi meridian cultivation. A python blood martial pill was almost completely consumed and absorbed by Li Chei in just half an hour. Li Chei's skin was steaming with heat, hissing noises emitted, and the inner Qi running in the minor circulation grew from slender snakes to grand dragons in size. Li Chei rose to his feet, his gaze sweeping over. Deo fruit, dragon elephant Vajra, LV3, 5%. One martial arts pill directly increased the maturity of the dragon elephant Vajra by 5%, an astonishingly swift pace. Discover more content at MVLE Novel Bin. However, Li Chei could understand that it was his first time consuming an elixir, and it was normal for it to have a better effect. If he continued taking more, the rate of increase certainly wouldn't be as rapid. Then I just need to consume a few more. Li Chei, dripping with warm sweat, checked his body's condition and, finding no issues, reached out for another elixir and swallowed it down. After all, these were martial arts pills scavenged from the Yang family treasure house, so he didn't feel the pinch using them up. The only downside was their limited quantity. Once consumed, he might have to find other ways to acquire more martial pills. Feeling the medicinal power of the pill unfolding in his belly once more, Li Chei's gaze deepened slightly. With the dragon elephant Vajra Deo fruit's ability to squeeze out the medicinal properties of the pills, my Qi meridians shouldn't take long to break through to the mysterious vein. However, to obtain the Qian Yuan mystic vein technique, the senior from Qingshan said I'd need to join the divine sect. But it seems, it won't be too long. Senior from Qingshan exposing his identity, most likely, is a signal that he's about to return to the divine sect. I will, just hold off for a while longer. I possess the Yang family's divine foundation technique, and the senior from Qingshan once said, a high-rank divine foundation technique can override a lower-rank one. Chapter 92, The Drain Temple God, Three-Eyed Wrathful True Lord Foundation Technique, 2. So, martial arts can be held back. But for the divine nature, can I try to forge a divine foundation? The sky was tinged with the first light of dawn, and the winter rain had just stopped. The chill of the early morning grew even thicker. Distant mountains were enveloped and circled by ribbon-like mists, seen from afar as if they were ink washes sparingly applied in a landscape painting. The Su family, Divine Cultivation Institute. Nurse Momo had returned to tranquility. Without the noise and tumult of the children, the place seemed somewhat stark and cold. She held a python-headed cane in one hand and scissors in the other, trimming the flowers in the yard that were speckled with droplets from the winter rain. Suddenly, a figure in azure attire appeared, descending into the courtyard and gazing at Nurse Momo across the flowers. Nurse Momo paused for a moment but then ignored the visitor, snipping even more vigorously, the trimmed leaves and flowers falling in a rush. Still so temperamental. Li Qingshan watched Nurse Momo and couldn't help but grin. He reached out, intending to ruffle the girl's hair without a second thought. However, the sharp scissors clanged open threateningly, blocking the path of Li Qingshan's outstretched hand. I'm not the little girl I was back then, don't touch me, or I'll cut it off. Nurse Momo glared, brandishing the scissors as a threat. Ha ha ha, I am tough and robust now, try cutting me, why don't you? Li Qingshan laughed heartily, his lips curling up. This girl still had the same stubbornness as always, after all these years, she hadn't changed. Nurse Momo huffed and set down the scissors. Li Qingshan was now a renowned powerhouse in the divine base scroll. She knew full well how formidable his physique was. Too lazy to clip, she might as well save a pair of scissors from being ruined. An esteemed expert of the Qianyuan divine sect, what brings you to seek this old woman? Your grandson. Master Li has taken him away. Go to Master Li if you're looking for him. Nurse Momo pursed her lips and glared with a hint of sarcasm. Li Qingshan's hand finally landed on Nurse Momo's head as he intended, gently rubbing it. That big-headed boy isn't my grandson, just my disciple. When I first threw the kid to you, it was partly to tease you but also to find an excuse to protect XIXI. That girl XIXI has a good divine talent. I plan to take her to Mansion City. With her talent, she should easily pass the sect entry examination of Mansion City. On hearing this, Nurse Momo's eyes briefly brightened, but they quickly dimmed again, and she grew cold. Okay, I get it, old lady. You can leave now. Having said that, she leaned on her cane and walked further into the courtyard. Li Qingshan watched the old woman's staggering figure and sighed softly, "Come with me, Momo. Although I have been observing the divine likeness, I specifically fought for this opportunity to descend the mountain in my physical form just to see you. This time, I'll see who dares to stop me. I will pulverize them." Nurse Momo's steps faltered. Li Qingshan, I am old now. Old? Hey. Li Qingshan gently walked up to Nurse Momo's side. It was just like the old days, green hills and clear waters. He tenderly patted the maiden's head. Li Qingshan could smash countless heads, but only showed tenderness towards the girl. Looking at the distant mountains, Li Qingshan's voice was soft and tender. No worries, we can still watch the twilight together. The greeters from the Qianyuan divine sect to select the spirit children had arrived. City Lord Cao Guang personally welcomed them and, as per tradition, would host a banquet at the Golden Splendor Pavilion in 3 days. At the same time, he would summon the noble families and clans from Feilei City's inner city to send children from the Divine Cultivation Institute to test for divine talent. All the noble families from the inner city of Feilei City would attend, even those Divine Foundation ancestors who usually remained in seclusion would make an appearance. This was considered a major event in the city every few years. It was a formality that both the divine sect and the imperial court needed to uphold. The Yin family is leaving the city en masse? Heading to Golden Light Prefecture City. In the courtyard, while guiding XIXI in martial arts, Li Che listened to old Chen, who was back from a stroll and bringing news, and was momentarily stunned. The Yin family. So decisive? Yesterday, old Deng from the Yang family was just killed, and today they're promptly leaving the city, taking off without looking back. Your journey continues with MVL Novel Bin. The resilience of the old patriarch of the Yin family was truly as his reputation suggested, and he was taking the whole family with him in a hasty retreat. Old Chen too was smacking his lips, incessantly marveling. A trace of regret and pity flashed in the depths of Li Che's eyes. His worry divine nature had fled. Now, getting the worry divine nature method of nurturing nature might need a different approach. The nurturing method was precious but not easy to find, after all, it might not even be available on the black market. After guiding XIXI and his wife Zhangya in their martial arts practice, Li Che went to his private workshop. Sitting in the workshop's wooden chair, Li Che grasped a bright white carving knife, etching a divine wood carving. The shavings trembled and fell, scattering with the winter breeze. In a moment, a vividly lifelike wood carving formed, capturing the divinity in the heavens and earth and infusing it into the wood carving. Before him, a prompt with flowing light emerged. Deo Fruit, Immortal Artisan, LV3, 29%. Progress in Immortal Artisan was slow. It seems I need to create some new mechanisms. Tang's Mechanism Essentials has some mechanisms I can create. Besides, my conceptualization of Namo Fairy Craft Barret is also worth a try, with the penetrating power of Bodhi Blood Tears being quite fitting. Additionally, I need to enhance the power of Wood Raven. Craftsmanship indeed becomes hard to improve as it reaches the later stages. Li Che's fingers moved agilely, as the carving knife danced over the wood, began crafting a smaller Namo Fairy Craft Gatling intended for XIXI, for this girl had been nagging him lately. Of course, he would deliver it to her in his bull demon guise, and also give her a piece of Kyunkan Jade to store the Gatling. Chapter 93, The Drain Temple God, Three-Eyed Wrathful True Lord Foundation Technique, 3. It also served as a method for XIXI to defend herself. Li Che felt himself quite busy, with martial paths to cultivate, immortal artisan tasks to do, and divinity to refine. He stood up, his bones crackling loudly. His potent chi and blood vibrated. With his bare hands, Li Che drew out the cute cow mask and covered his face with it. In front of him, light flickered. Explore stories at MVLE Novel Bin. Deo Fruit, Chess Saint, LV 1,89%. The rate of enhancement of the Chess Saint's Deo Fruit. It was somewhat beyond Li Che's imagination. But, it was also within expectations. After all, it integrated the divinity of a divine foundation from the Yang family's old Deng, turning it into a chess piece, which substantially increased its maturity. With a squeeze of his fingers, the divinity thunder chess piece from the three-eyed wrathful true lord Lingying Bazaar temple outside the city was immediately grasped in his hand. Upon opening his eyes again, he already appeared inside the flickering candle-lit mysterious temple. During this period, Zhao Suanhai's wrathful mate Raya divinity had already been exhausted, and Li Che had replaced it with the temple god's fury divinity, which worked surprisingly well with hardly any rejection. Now, the wrathful mate Raya divinity had reached the peak of cultivation as river-like. He was also not far from forging a divine foundation. However, I have yet to master the wrathful mate Raya divine foundation technique. This Dharma, the city lord's mansion should have it. Having finished absorbing the divinity, Li Che leaped down from the altar. He glanced at the increasingly numerous various Ling Tong wood carvings arranged around him. Li Che's brows furrowed slightly. City lord, or should I say, the leader of the Spirit Infant Sect's 1000 Buddha carving banquet. The purpose of the 1000 Buddha carving banquet should be a sacrifice, through which, to awaken the temple god? Specifically, how is it operated? Li Che glanced around, feeling the Spirit Infant wood carvings seemingly flowing with various emotions, which inevitably caused irritation and anger. Pure heart Deo fruit, pure white divinity surged out, calming and peaceful. Suppressing the urge to destroy these Spirit Infant wood carvings because Li Qingshan had said that these carvings worshipped the temple god and had developed a special connection with it. If destroyed, even if just one Spirit Infant wood carving, the temple god would sense it and subsequently awaken. With an unknown temple god, Li Che was still somewhat wary, unwilling to confront it lightly. He only wanted to quietly absorb the temple god's divinity, and as for fighting the temple god, he had no such intention. He let out a breath. Li Che glanced at the three eyes wrathful true monarch spirit child placed on the altar. Smiling, with the bull demon mask on, Li Che leaped onto the altar, standing firm and unshaken. Looking at the patina-covered head of the temple god wood carving, Li Che reached out his hand. His palm suddenly turned jade-colored, as if thin jade-colored mist was entwining around his arm. It looked like it was carved out of jade, delicate and splendid. Boom! A powerful siphoning force erupted from the 1000 analyzing hands, beginning to absorb the divinity contained within the temple god wood carving. One by one, dark divinity chess pieces slowly floated around Li Che, emanating dark streams of air. The temple god wood carving, seated high on the altar, seemed to express an increasingly intense fury, much like a child whose treasures had been snatched away. The vertical eye on its forehead almost seemed angrily twisting. Unfortunately, it was always slightly insufficient. Li Che concentrated, and as the dragon elephant Vajra Deo fruit entered LV3, the siphoning power of the 1000 analyzing hands seemed to strengthen as well. The speed of absorbing divinity grew faster and faster. Originally, in one session of 2 hours, he could only absorb half a temple god divinity chess piece. Now, Li Che condensed one in half an hour. One after another, black-aired chess pieces floated, 2 each hour, and 4 pieces floated around him. Together with the previously condensed pieces, there were a total of 9 temple god divinity chess pieces. Perhaps feeling somewhat unfinished, when Li Che was about to absorb the 9th temple god chess piece, the robust siphoning power of the 1000 analyzing hands erupted. But Li Che's eyes narrowed in astonishment, as he didn't absorb any divinity. The temple god seemed to have been drained by him. Not that this could even be drained. However, soon, Li Che felt the temple god wood carving burst forth with an extremely scorching sensation. He saw the covered head of the temple god wood carving, the third vertical eye on it. Its eyeball peculiarly began to roll around. Snap! Suddenly, one hand of the three-eyed wrathful true lord Lingying temple god wood carving suddenly snapped up, fiercely grabbing Li Che's patina-covered palm on his head. Rumble! Outside the mysterious temple, it seemed as if thunder rumbled in winter and lightning snakes slivered. Inside the mysterious temple, all the candles flickered violently, casting twisted shadows of the spirit infant wood carvings, as if thousands of fierce ghosts were dancing wildly. The atmosphere seemed to chill in an instant. Between heaven and earth, there was a moment of silence. It seemed one could only hear the beat of the heart within the chest, like thunder, and resonating like a great bell. But none of these mattered. What mattered was, Li Che felt a scorching current flowing from the temple god wood carving into the 1,000 analyzing hands. The 1,000 analyzing hands' jade color flowed. Information passed through the 1,000 analyzing hands into Li Che's mind, slowly unfolding. Divine Foundation Technique, 8 Extreme Superior Grade 3-Eyed Wrathful True Lord Divine Foundation. Chapter 94, The Advancing Divine Foundation Technique, XIXI Mrs. Master Niu Niu. The candle light flickered dimly, casting shadows of countless wood-carved spirit infants that resembled gnashing demons and ghosts. The cute bull mask reflected the firelight as the temple god wood carving clenched his arm, with the vertical eye rolling in its socket, as if a heated atmosphere was exploding forth. In the air, it seemed as if soundless roars were cresting like waves, beating down one after another. The temple god looked furious, all 3 of its eyes radiating anger. As if it were bellowing at the insatiable greedy bull demon before it. That's enough. Take it and scram. Don't be too greedy. However, Li Che remained completely unaware. His eyes, visible through the mask's eye holes, burned quietly, a keen observer amidst the fire's glow. Divine Foundation Technique, 8 Extreme Superior Grade 3-Eyed Fury True Lord Divine Foundation. Origin, Branch of Wrath Divinity, the will of thousands in fierce anger, siphoning through the Trinity Divine Eye, arranging 1,000 infant wood carvings to contain God's intent, blessed by the true Lord of the Divine Child, hence obtaining the technique. Advancement, if granted the Divine Foundation techniques of the 3-Eyed Merciful True Monarch and the 3-Eyed Intimidating True Monarch, one could forge together the 7 elements Superior Grade 3-Eyed 3 Spirits True Lord Divine Foundation. Condition, Wrath Divinity, nurturing nature at river-like peak. The prompts of flowing light text slowly dissipated before his eyes. Overwhelming information surged into Li Che's mind, his eyes narrowed slightly, revealing a hint of pleasant surprise. Breaking free from the temple god wood carving's grasp, Li Che instantly shot down from the altar and landed on the ground. He stilled his emotions and silently received the information flowing into his mind. This is, the Divine Foundation Technique. Moreover, it's of the 8 Extreme Superior Grade. The heart-shocking Extreme Firmness Divine Foundation Technique I got from Old Deng of the Yang family was only of the 9 Luminaries Inferior Grade. 8 Extreme Superior Grade Divine Foundation Technique. Li Che was pleasantly surprised, decidedly unexpected. Senior Qing Shan mentioned that one could receive gifts from the temple god within the mysterious temples. Many divine methods and divine foundation techniques are obtained from mysterious temples. Therefore, many wild and unexplored mysterious temples have numerous cultivators coming and going. So this is the so-called gift from the temple god. Even though it more closely resembled an impatient dismissal from the temple god, Li Che was quite happy. This temple god divine foundation technique, it seems like it can advance further. If I obtain the divine foundation techniques of the 3-Eyed Merciful True Monarch and the 3-Eyed Intimidating True Monarch, I can cast together the divine foundation of the 3-Eyed 3 Spirits True Lord, which would be a 7 elements superior grade divine foundation. Li Che pondered, his emotions slightly fluctuating, his eyes growing increasingly bright. Surely, I am not the only one in the world who has thought of forging a 7 emotions divine base. Although it involves casting together, the approach actually shares some similarities. Casting 3 types of divine origin bases into one divine foundation, whereas I intended to forge 7 divine bases. Great similarity with slight differences. The approach in the cultivation paths was actually the same. Li Che felt an inexplicable happiness, with a clearer vision of his future path and something to look forward to. Additionally, Senior Qing Shan said that this mysterious temple is a branch of the 4 royal mysterious temples. Could it be that in the future, my divine foundation can be further enhanced and modified through those 4 royal mysterious temples? If this 10 cities mysterious temple can yield an 8 extreme superior grade divine foundation technique, would the 4 royal mysterious temples yield a divine foundation technique of the 3 clears level? In his mind, the divine foundation technique was completely assimilated. He had lingered a little longer in the mysterious temple today. Li Che's ears twitched ever so slightly, his enhanced martial senses after his cultivation had sharpened all his perceptions. He heard hurried yet extremely faint sounds coming from outside the mysterious temple. Someone was coming. After leaving a thunder chess piece as an anchor point, Li Che clenched his fingers and vanished. The doors of the mysterious temple opened. A figure in white, wearing a faceless mask, streaked swiftly into the temple, the mask reflecting tens of thousands of distorted lights. Temple god divinity moving strangely. Was someone in the temple just now? Who is it? Without even opening the temple doors, they appeared inside the mysterious temple? What kind of specter is this? The white figure's hair flew about as the eyes beneath the mask showed immense solemnity. Winter thunder rumbled, and lightning slithered like a snake. Suddenly, the figure in white stiffened their neck, tilting it back slowly. The gestures had changed. The temple god wood carving, it was different than before. Looking at the altar, where the temple god wood carving now seemed to be grasping for something. The figure in white felt their divinity obstructed, acutely feeling the temple god's overwhelming rage crashing like a torrential wave. They couldn't help but grunt, as strange black patterns seemed to emerge on their body, writhing slowly. The figure in white trembled, and then their knees bent. And they slowly knelt down. Li Che returned to his private workshop. His tall figure stood silently. Removing his mask, he shed his garments. An unexpected fortune indeed, to have acquired a divine foundation technique in the mysterious temple. 8 Extreme Superior Grade. Li Che looked up at the darkening sky, as nightfall approached. The evening sun set the black roof tiles ablaze with a fiery glow. I have now cultivated Wrathful Maitreya to the peak of cultivation as river-like, just one step away from the divine foundation. This is the perfect time to attempt it. Li Che mulled over the thought, yet he knew that forging a divine foundation was no easy feat. Creating a divine foundation will certainly provoke intense fluctuations of divinity that cannot be hidden. It will expose me. The most crucial thing is, should the process be disrupted, one might even suffer backlash, which is entirely different from the martial breakthrough of channel opening. Li Che sat in his chair, toying with a finely carved wood sculpture, but his mind was preoccupied with considering the preparations needed for forging the divine foundation. First of all, it can't be done within the city. I need to find a tranquil place outside. Next, I must set up traps and hidden weapons. And my chi and blood martial path must be strong enough. I should take these days to consume and refine the remaining Python blood martial pills, transforming them into chi and blood cultivation. Chapter 95, The Upgradable Divine Foundation Technique, XIXI Mrs. Master Niu 2. I possess the Dragon Elephant Vajra Deo fruit, my physical body is robust, even without the mysterious vein cultivation, my physical strength is by no means weaker than that of the mysterious vein, perhaps even stronger. This should pose no problems in forging my divine foundation. After Li Che had arranged everything, he calmed his mind in the workshop, took out the blood-flesh-red spiritual wood he had harvested from old Deng of the Yang family, and started crafting the Bodhi blood tears mechanism. The power of this device was immense, posing a significant threat even to divine base cultivators. Unfortunately, due to its high difficulty of production, Li Che only had one and had to prepare others after its use. Luckily, the piece of blood-flesh-red spiritual wood collected by old Deng of the Yang family was large enough. Li Che estimated he could make 3 Bodhi blood tears. After working for a while, Li Che stopped his hands. Seeing the skies had darkened completely, he did not stay any longer in the workshop. He left the workshop and headed to the Golden Splendor Pavilion, because with Li Qingshan's situation, the city lord's mansion had completely retracted its claws, no longer harboring any intentions toward Li Che and XIXI. With the fall of the Yang family, the weakening of the Si family, and the relocation of the entire An family, the noble families and clans within Feilei City were reduced to just the Su family, leading to an oddly improved order within the city. Having ordered a good table of wine and dishes, Li Che returned to his own courtyard. Back in the courtyard, XIXI was sitting under the eaves with Grandpa Chen, eating fruits on large and small bamboo chairs. Grandpa Chen doted on XIXI, often buying her lots of delicious things. Even in the winter when fruits were expensive, he was willing to spend the money for her. Daddy! Seeing Li Che return, XIXI excitedly bounced off the chair. She ran towards Li Che and crashed into his embrace. Daddy, are we moving? Can we take Grandpa Chen with us? XIXI's eyelashes fluttered lightly, her eyes watery and full of reluctance. Grandpa Chen on the chair was instantly stunned, his eyes much softer. He grabbed his gourd, pulled out the stopper, and took a swig of wine. This girl. You are going to Mansion City to cultivate, what would Grandpa Chen do there? Upon hearing this, Li Che smiled and said, Grandpa Chen, stop being shy, let's go together. XIXI has been training under your guidance since she was little. When we get to Mansion City, there will be assessments. Don't you want to see XIXI suppress all the spirit children from various cities and powerfully enter the divine sect? Upon hearing this, Grandpa Chen was momentarily speechless. This girl, though sweet and lovely, has the strength to pull mountains and the spirit to overshadow the world. At the age of 3, no one can rival little stinky XI. Grandpa Chen laughed heartily, as if envisioning the dominating scene of XIXI beating up spirit children from other cities in Mansion City. XIXI, with one hand around Li Chei's neck, scrunched up her little nose and said discontentedly, Grandpa Chen, I am XIXI, Li Nuangzai, not little stinky XI. Haha, okay, Grandpa Chen knows, little stinky XI. Grandpa Chen responded with a laugh. XIXI was annoyed and puffed up her cheeks, staying silent. Grandpa Chen, prepare yourself, in a couple of days, come with me to bid farewell to your position as a woodcarver at the Su family, Li Chei said. Grandpa Chen still hesitated a bit. A spirit child can only bring their own family, right? Isn't it inappropriate for me to go? Don't worry, your spot won't be missed, Li Chei pursed his lips and said. Upon hearing this, Grandpa Chen no longer resisted. In a couple of days, after the selection of spirit children at the Golden Splendor Pavilion ends, Li Chei planned to discuss with his uncles about them also relocating to Mansion City. Mainly because, Feilei City, was no longer safe. As night fell, Li Qingshan returned with a radiant face, his steps brisk. Liu Qi, who was wrestling with XIXI for the twist car, looked up puzzledly at his master, who seemed rejuvenated. Despite his young age, he had already discerned many adult secrets. Rolling his eyes, Liu Qi resumed competing with XIXI for the twist car. I don't want to play anymore, brother Liu Qi, you can have it. XIXI generously gave the twist car to Liu Qi, then sat down under the eaves, her chubby hands propping her chin, seemingly a bit melancholic. From a distance, Li Chei, teaching Zhangya a martial technique, immediately turned his gaze. Liu Qi shivered, jumping off the twist car as if it was scalding his bottom, feeling Li Chei's gaze like 1,000 cuts. With a tearful heart, it's not like he had provoked XIXI. Li Chei approached XIXI, are you not happy, XIXI? XIXI pouted her little mouth, XIXI misses Master Niu Niu, he hasn't visited in several days, and I miss him. Li Chei paused. That bold demon, clearly no good, yet this girl misses him so? However, as her father, Li Chei naturally wanted to fulfill her wishes. Don't worry, perhaps your Master Niu Niu knows you're moving, and he's preparing a gift for you. Li Chei pinched XIXI's chubby cheek. XIXI's eyes immediately brightened. Meanwhile, Liu Qi, unseen by Li Chei, rolled his eyes in the direction his cheek wasn't visible. He, Liu Qi, had cunningly seen through the adult's secrets. An old man deceiving a lady, forever young. A father coaxing his daughter, pretending to be a master. The world of adults is all fake. The next day, dark clouds piled up, winter lightning darting through them, flashing with electric light. After assisting his wife Zhangya with deep exploratory bone technique the night before, Li Chei felt spirited and invigorated. In the courtyard, Li Qingshan sat in a wooden chair, dressed in green robes, flipping through a book. Beside him, a stove boiled water for tea, the steam billowing. Liu Qi sat cross-legged below, cultivating his divinity. The book Li Qingshan was reading was the Tang's Mechanism Essentials, obtained from Grandpa Chen. The elderly man furrowed his brows, looked at the book, and said to Li Chei, Mechanism. Is it with the mechanisms in here that you killed the Yang family's divine foundation? Chapter 96, The Upgradable Divine Foundation Technique, XIXI Mrs. Master Niu Niu, 3. Tang family mechanisms are indeed formidable, but they are also complex. This booklet is just an incomplete copy, and the recorded mechanisms are mostly ambiguous. You actually managed to make one? Your craftsmanship is truly not bad. Li Qingshan looked at Li Chei, smiled, and a hint of intrigue flashed in his eyes. The way of mechanisms requires talent. It's not something that can be dealt with merely a bit of skill. Back then, the Tang family of Great Vista was so glorious, but ever since the demise of the family's divine fetus who presided over the clan, rarely have any mechanism geniuses been born. Gradually, the Tang family also fell into decline. Because many of the Tang family mechanisms, even if there are diagrams, can't be made without talent. However, your talent for the way of mechanisms should not be wasted. Once you join the divine sect, I will introduce you to someone. He should be able to teach you a lot about the way of mechanisms. Upon hearing this, Li Che did not refuse. He was indeed interested in the way of mechanisms, and if he could learn more about mechanisms, it would also be a great help in maturing towards the immortal artisan Dao fruit. After chatting with Li Qingshan for a while, Li Che went to call old Chen, intending to go to the Su family to resign from the wood carving shop's position as wood carver. Going to Su's? I'm heading the same way, let's go together. Li Qingshan languidly got up from his seat. Li Che was startled. The same way? The same way to where? However, he did not say much as Li Qingshan's public identity in Feilei City was basically allowed to do as he pleased, and even the Su family would treat him as a distinguished guest. Soon, the three of them arrived at Su's wood carving shop in the inner city, and Li Qingshan wandered off on his own. Li Che then explained his intentions to old Chen, and shortly after, Su Heli, dressed in a suit of white, and Su Baihu hurriedly arrived. Master Li, are you planning to resign from your position as woodcarver at Su's wood carving shop? Is it because your daughter's status as a spirit child has been acknowledged by Elder Qingshan, and she will soon be heading to Mansion City? Su Heli looked at Li Che with a smile. His expression was complex and he found it hard to imagine how a commoner could have risen so quickly in just 3 short years. As for whether Li Che was the bull demon, Su Heli could not confirm it. Because at the time Cao Qing Yuan and Zhang Xiangyang went to Li Che's courtyard, they were also watching from afar. The bull demon had fought against the Yang family's divine foundation while Li Che appeared in the courtyard. Thus, they ruled out the speculation that Li Che was the bull demon. Moreover, whether Li Che was the bull demon or not, no longer mattered. With divine sect powerhouses backing Li Che and his daughter, no one in Feilei City would dare to touch the father and daughter. Even if it were confirmed that Li Che was the bull demon, what then? The incident of the bull demon killing the Yang family's divine foundation had already shocked the entirety of Feilei City. When Su Heli heard the news, he was completely stunned. He never imagined that the bull demon could actually counterkill after the Yang family divine foundation took action. Su Heli immediately felt that there was no way the bull demon could be Li Che. How could Li Che, who had only cultivated for 3 years, possibly reach the level of killing a divine foundation? Head shopkeeper, as for the honorary position, let it be. It doesn't seem quite right that we aren't in Feilei City, yet we are taking the Su family's honorary wages. Li Che shook his head, refusing Su Heli. Naturally, Chen Dabao also followed suit in the refusal. Su Heli wasn't surprised, he had evidently anticipated Li Che's attitude. The Su family's attitude towards Li Che after he became a wood-carving master was not enthusiastic, and Li Che had only worked at Su Ji for 3 years, of which one was as a laborer, so it was normal not to have much attachment. After a symbolic attempt to retain him, Su Heli agreed to Li Che and Chen Dabao's resignation. Head shopkeeper, has the third shopkeeper not returned yet? Before leaving, Li Che turned to Su Heli and asked. Su Heli narrowed his eyes. Third brother has gone to lead a team to exterminate evils outside the city. It's possible he went quite far, and a trip like that takes at least half a year, which is quite normal. Hearing this, Li Che nodded, not saying anything else. The two left the wood carving shop. The winter rain pattered against the oil paper umbrella. Old Chen's entire body stretched out, feeling an unprecedented sense of refreshment. Being semi-retired, he had little attachment to Su's wood carving shop. "Ha, let's go, I'll treat you to a drink." Su's courtyard. Su Heli informed the family head, Su Nanming, about Li Che and Chen Dabao's resignation from their positions as woodcarvers at Su's wood carving shop. It's normal. Li Che plans to accompany his spirit child daughter to Mansion City, and as for Chen Dabao, his heart hasn't been in wood carving for years, so it's fine that he resigned. But his thoughts of following to Mansion City, assuming he can latch onto Li Nuangzai, this superior grade spirit child, and get into the divine sect once he's there, are somewhat presumptuous, Su Nanming said while dealing with numerous documents in his hand. The Si family, the Yang family, and the Yin family, some collapsed, some exterminated, some relocated. The Su family suddenly became the largest of the noble families and clans in Feilei City. So many businesses were taken over in one go, keeping Su Nanming incredibly busy. Having failed to break through the divine foundation, he had long since given up on attempting to advance, thus focusing all his efforts on expanding the family's enterprises. Now, as things were going his way, Su Nanming was in a great mood. After all, under his leadership, Suji had grown to its largest in 200 years. How could he not be pleased? Even if it was a victory handed to him, it was still his, Su Nanming's, achievement. And Su Yu? Is he still hunting evils outside the city? Send a message for him to come back. The city lord's mansion sent word, as soon as the guiding envoy from Jianyuan divine sect leaves, the 1000 Buddha carving banquet will be held immediately. So, call Su Yu back. At these words, Su Heli paused, taken aback. Why call the third one back? Su Heli frowned. With the Si, Yang, and families gone, and he being the only one left of the 3 young masters of Feilei, he would surely benefit the most from the 1000 Buddha carving banquet. There was even a chance to strike at the divine foundation. At such a time, to call Su Yu back to share the benefits, Su Heli was understandably reluctant. However, Su Nanming simply looked at him quietly. Do you think your success rate in forging the divine foundation is high? The old master has high hopes for you. If our Su family could produce another divine foundation, then after the 1000 Buddha carving banquet, even if we move to other cities, we could continue our 200 years legacy. Therefore, your attempt at the divine foundation must succeed, and not fail. Su Heli replied, I understand, so I will strive. Strive? Ridiculous. Your qi and blood cultivation has barely stepped into the realm of qi channels. Your failure rate in forging the divine foundation is extremely high. Take advantage of the 1000 Buddha carving banquet, draw on the temple god divinity, and let Su Yu and North Tiger become your support. Only then can you succeed, understand? These are the old master's wishes. Su Heli was startled, suddenly feeling a chill run down his spine. Su Heli swallowed, feeling his mouth become dry. How? How can they provide support? Hearing this, Su Nanming paused in his handling of the documents and lifted his head from the many files. He revealed a chilling smile, full of white teeth. Chapter 97, The blonde-haired girl is actually my daughter? 22-year-old spirit child's identity exposed. Early morning. The warm sun of winter rarely broke through the dark clouds, casting down fine and gentle rays of light. Under the eaves, icicles formed from the frozen winter rain began to melt slightly in the sunlight, shrinking to the size of a pinky finger. 10 miles outside Feilei City. A bamboo forest. Deep within the bamboo forest stood a bamboo house. This was a residence Li Che had found outside the city, quiet and free from disturbances. At least, it was sufficient for the time being. Li Che, dressed in black, filled out his clothes with his muscular build, the fine and continuous muscles like those of a mighty python plainly visible. His blood and qi created waves of heat, surging throughout the bamboo courtyard. It seemed to transform into a living, breathing blood qi python, coiling and hissing around him. In his stomach, it was like a sea turned upside down as the python blood martial pill he had ingested was crushed and refined, extracting the vast medicinal power and turning it into qi and blood, circulating within the pathways of the minor circulatory cycle of qi vessels. His 5 fingers became like hooks, fiercely grabbing down, as a chaotic wind abruptly started, with the white tiger seemingly roaring with bared teeth behind Li Che. White Tiger Chaotic Wind Fist. This middle vehicle martial technique had been refined by Li Che to the level of transformation realm, and after his improvements, had already become a superior martial arts technique with formidable power. Each move was filled with the domineering and lethal nature of the white tiger. The Su family's 8 consecutive bone-breaking spears, which he had also modified, had reached the level of the transformation realm, becoming another superior martial arts technique. The benefits of the level 3 Dragon Elephant Vajra to martial arts talent were enormous. Not only was he unparalleled in cross-training, but his understanding of martial arts was also unique. It seemed he could deduce myriad techniques from a single glance. Practically any martial art could be mastered to minor accomplishment within a day. This was the level 3 talent of cross-training. A martial technique needs to go through several stages from the beginning: minor accomplishment, major accomplishment, master, and transformation realm, which can be understood as levels of proficiency. Once the transformation realm is reached, a martial technique's power reaches its peak. Beyond that lies the martial art's true intent. This was what Li Qingshan had told Li Che. And to cultivate martial art's true intent, the rank of the martial technique has to reach the level of true intent ultimate study. Although the White Tiger Chaotic Wind Fist and the Su family's 8 consecutive bone-breaking spears had been improved by him to the standard of superior martial arts techniques, there was little hope of cultivating martial arts true intent or reaching the level of Zhu Shui with them. Moreover, divine martial arts cannot generate martial arts true intent, only pure qi and blood martial techniques can derive martial arts true intent. The qi and blood slowly converged, and the crushed martial pill was gradually digested. Transforming into a rushing energy, it strengthened Li Che's internal organs, giving rise to an inner qi like that of a jiao dragon. Boom! As Li Che performed each technique, the practice of martial arts accelerated the movement of qi and blood, speeding up the volatilization of the martial pill's medicinal properties. After executing the White Tiger Chaotic Wind Fist, Li Che's fingers clenched, and the air silently tore apart, expelling an odd long spear adorned with blood-colored patterns. It was the Nine Luminaries' superior divine weapon, the Lu Blood Shock Spear. With the divine spear in hand, dancing with its scattered forceful whines, and the currents of air agitated. Amidst its low whistling, sounds like a screeching roar reverberated through the forest, ceaseless to the ear. A divine weapon, even without carrying divinity, inherently possesses hardness, toughness, and sharpness far surpassing ordinary weapons. When a blood python roared out, and the air transmitted 8 consecutive sounds of explosion, Li Che then put away the divine weapon's startling spear. The last python blood martial pill, it should be enough. My martial cultivation has already reached the Qi meridian peak, and my inner Qi is as strong as a Jiao dragon. All that's left is the mysterious vein method, and I can naturally make a breakthrough. Li Che exhaled a breath of turbid air. Without hesitation, he swallowed the last python blood martial pill. Thus, all the martial pills acquired from the Yang family treasure house had been consumed, and the tens of thousands of taels worth of resources successfully pushed his cultivation to the Qi meridian peak. When the last martial pill's medicinal properties had been completely refined and consumed by his body, a surge of intense heat rolled through the courtyard, waves of heat rising high. Li Che opened his eyes, which sparkled brightly. The foundation of my physical body is now solid. Even without activating Angry Vatra, I could easily kill a common Suanmei warrior. It seems, it's time to try casting the Three-Eyed Fury True Lord Divine Foundation. Casting a divine foundation ultimately wasn't something that could be done with just passion. According to the Temple God's divine foundation technique, quite a few preparations were needed. It was more akin to a ritual. Li Che compared it with the heart-shocking extreme firmness divine foundation technique obtained from the old ancestor of the Yang family. Apart from the objects required for the preparation, both involved some form of ritual. The most important part was the need to prepare 3 items of divinity, such as wood carvings, jade carvings, and scrolls, among others. But wood carvings were more encouraged, preferably carved from spiritual wood. Among the old ancestors' collection, there was a piece of wood stump from a type of spiritual wood called spirit flower willow, though it was the same rank as blood flesh red, the two differed greatly in value. The spirit flower willow was bigger yet cheaper by quite a bit. As for the blueprint of the wood carving, it was also provided in the divine foundation technique. Being a wood carving master himself, this matter wasn't troublesome for Li Che. As for the blood of 3 animals and 5 grains, it just required some time to prepare. After concealing his qi and blood and only displaying the bone tempering completion cultivation, Li Che changed into a clean set of black clothes, looking refined and mild, clutched the thunder chess piece, and returned to the predetermined anchor point in the study of his own home. Today was a big event in Feilei City. It was the day that City Lord Cao Guang set a banquet at the Golden Splendor Pavilion for the Divine Sex Guiding Envoy, where the noble families and clans of Feilei City would bring their spirit children for the Divine Sex Guiding Envoy to assess, hoping they might be recruited into the sect. In previous years, in addition to the Divine Sect recruiting spirit children, the Dejing dynasty's official court would also recruit. However, with the expansion of the disaster from the mysterious temple, the imperial court had given up on recruiting spirit children from various places, letting the noble families and clans train them on their own, while the Divine Sect continued to send guiding envoys. Chapter 98, The Blonde is Actually My Daughter? 22-year-old spirit child's identity exposed, 2. Perhaps some noble families and clans may still hide their talented spirit children, but the majority of small noble families and ordinary families pin their hopes on their children entering the Divine Sect and changing their fates. The status of the Divine Sect in the hearts of the people of Great Vista is exceedingly unusual. However, just how many spirit children there will be in Feilei City this year is unknown. Inside the inner room, his wife Zhangya was busy braiding Xi's hair. After waiting for a moment, Li Che left with his wife Zhangya, now prettily dressed, taking Xi with them. Li Qingshan and Liu Qi had already gone to the Golden Splendor Pavilion early. As representatives of the divine sect, they naturally could not accompany Li Che and his family. Old Chen wasn't idling either, carrying his big wine gourd and following behind, planning to join in the excitement. Just out of the alley, the family of his elder uncle, who had also moved to the inner city, was already waiting in the cold wind. His uncle was still wearing that scholarly robe, with a cotton garment underneath, smoking a dry pipe. Li Che's cousin, Li Zhengran, and his family were waiting nearby. Li Che's nephew, Li Chengzhou, was now 3 years old. Quieter than Xixi and tenderly fair, he was already showing hints of handsomeness. Upon seeing Li Che's family, his cousin Li Zhengran immediately showed a smiling expression, as their family had been living very well in the inner city thanks to Li Che's help. Once Xixi left the alley, she wriggled her hand free from Li Che's and ran to Li Chengzhou. "Chengzhou, little brother." Xixi confidently took Li Chensu's hand. Li Chensu's tender face flushed red instantly, and he became somewhat flustered for a moment. "Little brother is so good looking." Xixi stared at Li Chengzhou. Li Chengzhou instinctively struggled and hid beside his aunt Lu Chunming. "Don't be afraid, Chengzhou, sister is playing with you." Lu Chunming quickly comforted him. Unperturbed, Xixi approached with a cheery bounce. Li Che paused for a moment, somewhat speechless. This girl is so obsessed with looks at such a young age? You didn't treat Big Head Lu like this. Li Che pursed his lips and suddenly felt alarmed. Wait, out of all the things to be wary of, could yellow hair actually be my daughter? Along the way, the inner city folks, who had rarely gone out since the Yang family was wiped out, were now appearing one after another, all holding their children and heading towards the Golden Splendor Pavilion. When they arrived at the Golden Splendor Pavilion, it was packed with people outside. Li Qingshan had already arranged for Liu Qi to wait outside, and upon sighting Li Che's group, he led them into the pavilion, seated at a round table covered with a red cloth. "Why are there so many people?" Li Che was slightly surprised. "The number of children in Feilei City seems to be more than I thought." Li Che had thought that after the incident with the Spirit Infant sect, the number of children in Feilei City would decrease significantly. Liu Qi looked at Xixi, who was holding Li Chensu's palm, with a somewhat displeased expression, as he seemed to have never received such treatment. Hearing what Li Che said, Liu Qi shook his neza braid and said, "Despite the large number of children who have come, there really aren't many spirit children. The Spirit Infant sect is only interested in spirit children, not just any child. If they're not spirit children, the sect won't even consider them." Liu Kai's words were simple and direct. Everyone sat down for the banquet, which was arranged by City Lord Cao Guang and funded by the government. Enjoying things for free, Li Che ate with great delight. Although he had amassed a huge fortune from the Yang family, he felt a different kind of joy in growing rich all of a sudden and another kind of pleasure from getting something for nothing. Midway through the banquet, after a brief speech by City Lord Cao Guang, Li Qingshan stood up gracefully, his gaze sweeping over the Golden Splendor Pavilion and the bustling crowd outside. He saw many curious children blinking their eyes. Some people even brought out babies from their cradles, hoping to try their luck. To such a scene, Li Qingshan remained composed and said lightly, "Next year, on the spring equinox of the second lunar month, Qianyuan Divine Sect will open its mountain gate and recruit spirit children. All children of citizens under the jurisdiction of Golden Light Prefecture City, aged 3 and above, will be tested, and those who are identified as spirit children, will be allowed to join our divine sect. The recruitment assessment will take place in Golden Light Prefecture City during the spring equinox of the second lunar month, separating the outer sect from the inner sect." Li Qingshan's voice was not loud, but it echoed throughout the entire Golden Splendor Pavilion, reaching almost everyone's ears. At once, the crowd became restless. Of course, apart from spirit children, those with decent martial path roots can also obtain the opportunity to go to the prefecture city and participate in the sect recruitment assessment. Li Qingshan added another sentence. The atmosphere below grew even more eager, but Li Qingshan merely shook his head slightly. He glanced at City Lord Cao Guang, who still wore an unwavering smile filled with joy. "Children aged 3 and above may enter the Golden Splendor Pavilion, and I will use my observation skill to assess whether they are spirit children and if they possess the requisite roots. Those who don't meet the conditions, should not bother entering the pavilion," Li Qingshan announced. Upon hearing these words, City Lord Cao Guang gestured, and immediately divine catcher Zhang Xiangyang went to arrange for the eligible children to be brought into the Golden Splendor Pavilion. The surroundings quietened down. I will assess them using the divine sex observation skill. Those with the divinity of a spirit child will emit a purple glow. 1 purple light for low grade, 3 lights for mid grade, 6 lights for superior grade, and 9 lights mark a supreme spiritual child. Parents should pay close attention, as the divine sex selects spirit children with fairness and justice. Li Qingshan spoke evenly. As soon as the words were uttered, City Lord Cao Guang's expression slightly shifted, and the smile on his face stiffened, turning somewhat gloomy. Li Qingshan was clearly doing this intentionally. Traditionally, greeters from the divine sect would secretly select the spirit children using the observation skill, but Li Qingshan insisted on making such a big fuss, obviously intending to make City Lord Cao Guang the butt of a joke. Chapter 99, The Blonde is Actually My Daughter? 22-year-old spirit child's identity exposed, 3. After all, most of the spirit children in Feilei City had been taken away by the spirit infant sect. Those who remained were not spirit children. A scan with the observation skill revealed only a handful of spirit children, and it seemed that the Flying Thunder City Lord might be facing some embarrassment and awkwardness. However, Li Qingshan paid no attention to Cao Guang's expression. If you dare to do it, what do you need a face for? Ladies and gentlemen, watch closely. As his words fell, Li Qingshan's hands formed the seal formula, and his eyes instantly shone with a purple halo. A surging aura swept out, filling and intertwining throughout the entire Golden Splendor Pavilion. Everyone looked around in astonishment. However, inside the Golden Splendor Pavilion, only a few bursts of purple light could be seen. How could it be so few? There were at least several hundred to nearly 1,000 children present, and yet, only 4 bursts of purple light? Although Cao Guang knew the result, he still subconsciously looked in the direction of the 4 bursts of purple light. Coincidentally, all 4 beams of purple light were converging on one table. Upon seeing this, his complexion changed drastically. He first saw XIXI, with 9 beams of purple light, full of purple aura. A supreme spiritual child? Could it actually be a supreme spiritual child? Cao Guang had always thought XIXI was merely superior grade, he had misjudged. If he had known that Li Chei's daughter, Li Nuangzai, was a supreme spiritual child, he would have personally taken action before Li Qingshan's arrival. A supreme spiritual child was the best offering. Next to Li Nuangzai, there was also an extremely dazzling light, even comparable to the 9 beams of purple light, bursting forth. Another supreme spiritual child. Cao Guang's face turned sour, 2 supreme spiritual children had slipped by right under his nose. However, as his gaze shifted over, Cao Guang's eyes suddenly stiffened. Underneath the flickering of the 9 beams of purple light was Li Chei, who was heartily enjoying his meal. This 22-year-old old man. Could he also be considered a spirit child? The atmosphere in the room seemed a bit odd. Many people also noticed the purple light flickering on Li Chei. Is there an error in the observation skill? How come Master Li is also exhibiting the purple light unique to spirit children? And there are 9 beams of it. Right, isn't it said that divinity of a spirit child must be essence cultivated from birth? After a person reaches adulthood, the newly essence cultivated divinity would have long been integrated with the divinity absorbed from the world, no longer qualifying as a spirit child. Could it be that Master Li has just become a wood-carving master and that new divinity has emerged within him? The surrounding whispers and murmurs resounded incessantly. Li Chei's face showed a hint of helplessness, his identity as an old spirit child was exposed. Ultimately, his identity as a 22-year-old old spirit child was laid bare. Li Qingshan had not mentioned this part of the process. In response to the doubts raised by many in the audience, Li Qingshan simply said with utmost confidence that the divine sex observation skill could not possibly make a mistake. That meant that Li Chei truly possessed the divinity of a spirit child. The Su family ancestors and Su Heli, along with the other members of the Su family, looked at Li Chei with strange expressions, a 22-year-old old spirit child. This was as challenging as being a 22-year-old virgin. However, it was just a surprise, and even then, there remained skepticism in their hearts. Their attention was primarily on Li Nuangzai, a supreme spiritual child. The Su family had misjudged. If they had known earlier that XIXI was a supreme spiritual child. The patriarch of the Su family breathed slightly heavier, his eyes burning with greater fervor. The difference between supreme and superior grade was almost like heaven and earth. Apart from Li Che and XIXI, the other two beams of observation purple light came from Liu Qi and Li Chengzhou. Liu Qi was a superior grade spiritual child, and as for Li Chengzhou, with just a single beam of purple light, although he was low grade, he still qualified as a spirit child. They were the ones who slipped through the net right under the city lord's watchful eyes. Even the city lord Cao Guang couldn't help but take another look in surprise, for he found that Li Chengzhou was also related to Li Che. For a moment, city lord Cao Guang felt nothing but bad luck in his heart. You there, who possess the divinity of the spirit child, will surely enter the gates of the divine sect mountain. In the second month of spring next year, Golden Light Prefecture City will hold an entry examination. As spirit children, your entry into the divine sect is guaranteed, thus, the examination is more about the allocation of your disciple status. As for the others who have merely passed the martial roots test, they must stand out in the entry examination to avoid elimination. Li Qingshan gathered the selected spirit children together and said succinctly. Following that, the Qunkan jade vibrated, and a succession of jade pendants floated out, descending to the chosen spirit children. Li Che also caught one with a beaming smile on his face. Li Qingshan glanced at him, but said no more. A spirit child plucked by his own observation skill had to be acknowledged, even through tears. This is a low-grade Qunkan jade, which contains a small universe that allows storing and retrieving objects from thin air, but it requires certain guidance time. It is the identity proof for you divine sect spirit children. Once you enter Golden Light Prefecture, you can use this credential to participate in the entry examination. Li Qingshan explained. In addition, there's a bottle of nurturing spirit pills, 10 in total. Take one every 5 days to accelerate nurturing your nature. There's also one turtle martial pill, which strengthens the foundation, nourishes the vitality, and warms the blood. Upon hearing this, Li Che's eyes suddenly brightened. Spirit children, could there be such benefits? He delightedly scanned the items inside the Qunkan jade. Li Che's smile grew even more intense. The surrounding people looked at him oddly, but Li Che was quite at ease. What he earned with his ability, why should he feel guilty? As for those who passed the martial roots test, Li Qingshan was not so generous, merely giving them their identity credentials before sending them off. After all, among these children, Li Qingshan had not come across any with extraordinary gifts or roots that caught his eye. The banquet concluded. Many familiar woodcarvers from Su's wood carving shop gathered around. Congratulations to Master Li, for both father and daughter have proven to be spirit children. Master Li, congratulations, congratulations. Entering the divine sect is the first step to soaring high. It's truly remarkable, a family with two geniuses, both supreme spiritual children. A delightful tale indeed. Li Che greeted his former colleagues, the woodcarvers who came to celebrate, with a smile. Then, with a grand gesture, he announced that he would host 100 tables at the Golden Splendor Pavilion tonight for his daughter. No gifts required, all are welcome guests. They would celebrate his daughter Li Nuangzai's entry into the divine sect. Night fell. Below the octagonal pavilion of the city lord's mansion, Cao Guang stood with his hands behind his back, staring at the brightly lit Golden Splendor Pavilion, where the feast was in full swing. The darkness swallowed the light, casting his expression into an undetermined shade of gloom. A moment later, soft footsteps sounded from behind him. It was Cao Qingyuan and Cao He. Li Che's daughter, is actually a supreme spiritual child. I was mistaken. I trusted the Su family's assessment too much. It's normal, supreme spiritual children are difficult to distinguish from superior grade ones without the divine sect's observation skill. If one only relies on experience, it's easy to be confused. Cao Guang exhaled. Cao He, the second elder of the Cao family, narrowed his eyes, a flash of ruthlessness crossing his aged face. Do you need me to take action? Shall I personally kidnap that Li Nuangzai? I'm aware of Li Qingshan, but I'll only kidnap the spirit child. If it doesn't work out, I'll leave. Cao Guang was somewhat tempted, the allure of a supreme spiritual child was indeed too great. As for Li Che, who was a 22-year-old supreme spiritual child, Cao Guang still had doubts in his heart. What man has such a long shelf life? Thus, he was more enticed by Li Nuangzai. However, he restrained himself. Forget it, with Li Qingshan there, even if his divinity is absent, he is still a martial arts grandmaster, it's not worth provoking him. Li Qingshan won't linger long in Flying Thunder City, he has other cities to visit to recruit spirit children. Li Chei's family will surely follow him. For now, don't create unnecessary complications. The most important thing is the successful conduct of the 1000 Buddha carving banquet. Wait until they leave. If we have missed a supreme spiritual child, then let it be, no matter. Qing Yuan, how goes the task I gave you? Cao Qing Yuan bowed respectfully, Father, I have successfully brought back 2 middle-grade spirit children from the neighboring city, the spirit child blood and bones are now complete. Good, now that we have all the spirit child blood and bones, once Li Qingshan, this big trouble, leaves Flying Thunder City, we can start the ritual at the 1000 Buddha carving banquet. In the darkness, Cao Guang's eyes shone faintly. As the words ended, between the octagonal pavilions, deep breaths mixed with greed, ambition, and anticipation rose and fell in succession. Chapter 100, The Orthodox Law of the Three Pure Ones Corpse Divine Nature Consumption, Turns out I am the Demon Chief. The banquet ended, and Li Che returned to the courtyard with his family. After calming his wife and Xixi to sleep, Li Che went to the courtyard, while old Chen, who was completely drunk, had already fallen asleep. The night breeze gently stirred as he sat quietly in the courtyard in a suit of blue clothes, reading a book. Although the night was hazy, for Li Qingshan with his extraordinary eyesight, he could see clearly even in the darkness. Back. Li Qingshan closed the book and spoke indifferently. Hey! Li Che exhaled a breath reeking of strong alcohol, expelling the alcohol from his body, his eyes clear, showing no sign of drunkenness. Now, his qi and blood martial path had reached the peak of qi meridians, and ordinary alcohol could hardly intoxicate him. After today, Xixi is officially a member of the Qianyuan Divine Sect. The entrance exam held next February at the spring equinox in Mansion City will just be a formality, said Li Qingshan with a smile. In 5 days, I plan to leave Feilei City. Without my presence to deter and protect, there might be unrest in Feilei City. So, gather up and prepare to leave the city with me when the time comes. 5 days later? Li Che was slightly taken aback. So soon? I have already stayed in Feilei City long enough, and now that I have revealed my identity as a guiding envoy of the Divine Sect, I cannot continue to stay in Feilei City. Golden Light Prefecture governs many cities, all of which have spirit children for me to guide, Li Qingshan explained, lightly patting the volume of Tang's Mechanism Essentials he had been studying these days. Senior, won't you travel with us to Mansion City? Li Che asked, puzzled. Lu Qi will accompany you. I need to visit other cities. By the spring equinox next February, I will arrive in Mansion City to attend the entrance exam, see you then. Xixi has great talent, and I definitely plan to take her as my disciple. I just fear others' jealousy and attempts to snatch her. Moreover, going to Mansion City, the imperial court might also take an interest in Xixi. A supreme spiritual child is quite tempting. The imperial court. Yes, the Dying Temple Bureau. Although the Dejing dynasty has lifted some restrictions and allowed noble families to cultivate spirit children, when it comes to snatching talents from the divine sect, the Dejing dynasty will not be soft-handed, said Li Qingshan with a cold laugh. Poaching talent is common practice in both Mansion City and State City. They may offer you great advantages, but once you enter the Temple Control Bureau, you'll find that though the benefits are real, whether you can live to enjoy them is what's truly important. The Dying Temple Bureau is very strong, no weaker than any divine sect, but the casualty rate is also extremely high. They suppress temple gods and accrue benefits through the lives of others. I can only tell you this much. Once you arrive in Mansion City, the decision will be up to you. Li Qingshan gazed into the night. Actually, my departure in 5 days is deliberate. Some people can't wait for me to leave, and only when I've left, will they dare to truly reveal their fangs. The disappearance of so many spirit children in Feilei City is related to the Spirit Infant Sect, and the Spirit Infant Sect. Li Qingshan glanced at Li Che. Li Che was very calm, related to the City Lord. City Lord Cao Guang is the leader of that Spirit Infant Sect, you know, I know, actually, many people are aware of it. I really want to smash him with a hammer, but for now, I can't. Most of my divinity is left at the mountain gates, gathering temple god divinity for a god-gathering appearance, so, relying on just Grandmaster cultivation, I can't kill Cao Guang. After all, my strongest aspect is divinity, explained Li Qingshan. Li Che was startled. This Cao Guang, is that strong? Both of us are at the Divine Foundation level. Divine Foundation also varies in strength, depending on the Divine Foundation technique practiced, as well as one's own martial body. Moreover, there is a serious issue with this Cao Guang. He is likely deeply connected to the corpse god cult, and that 1000 Buddha carving banquet he held indicates his huge appetite and ambition, Li Qingshan said, his expression growing more somber. Upon hearing this, Li Che couldn't help but feel a sense of heaviness. The corpse god cult? Another bizarre sect? Senior, what is the corpse god cult? The corpse god cult is a major bizarre cult sweeping the Dejing dynasty. They advocate practicing the orthodox law of the three pure one's corpse divine nature consumption, which allows them to consume the divinity of corpses and convert it into their own divinity. Extremely malevolent, the divinity technique of the three pure ones level wouldn't be handed down, but the corpse god cult's simplified corpse-eating divinity technique has corrupted many cultivators. Li Qingshan eyed Li Che, hesitated for a moment, but decided to disclose some secrets. Li Che's eyes narrowed slightly, and his mind buzzed. This description. Why did it sound so familiar to him? The orthodox law of the three pure one's corpse divine nature consumption, able to siphon the divinity from a corpse and convert it into one's own divinity? How different was that from his 1000 analyzing hands siphoning divinity, transformed into the Deo fruit of H.S. Saint's chess piece? Li Che took a deep breath, his teeth slightly aching. So malevolent. Li Qingshan did not doubt Li Che's reaction, as it is typical for people to react that way when they first hear about the corpse god technique. Indeed, malevolent, after all, it's a divine method from the three pure bizarre temples. However, I've heard it's extremely difficult to cultivate, easy to lose one's will, and fall into a monstrous state that's neither human nor ghost. And the consumption of divinity often leads to being tainted with corpse chi, eventually leading one to become a living corpse. In short, Li Che, techniques and methods of the corpse god cult, you must never touch them. If you do, your path of cultivation will be ruined. Once you've tasted the pleasure of rapidly increasing your cultivation by devouring someone else's divinity, then to ask you to settle down and slowly practice, I fear would be difficult. Your nature will be completely corrupted, the martial path extinguished, the cultivation path destroyed. Li Qingshan spoke very seriously, with a gravity in his tone.